Chapter 270, Pillar 1. Translator, Translating Novice. Editor, Z0rel. Join the Discord for chapter updates and important news. Kim Young-hoon and I step forward at the same time. Simultaneously, we enter a frozen world. I unleash my full power without any intention of holding back. If I think of Jang-ik's avatar, I cannot afford to relax. For ordinary cultivators of the heaven and earth tribes, even if they create avatars or externalized spirits, their realm is always lower than the main body, and the power they can exert is significantly reduced. However, it's different for members of the Heart tribe. The only difference lies in the magnitude of power. The techniques and realm accessible are identical to those of the original body. If there is any difference, it would only be in the magnitude of power and the endurance due to the presence or absence of a physical body. In other words, the Kim Young-hoon before me is no different from the real Kim Young-hoon in a short-term battle. A short-term battle is sufficient. Smirking, I grip my sword and accelerate my consciousness. The reach of my consciousness, spanning 200 li, is endlessly accelerated by my formless sword. At the same time, I achieve lightning speed due to tribulating heavens. This vast consciousness is further accelerated. The pure speed of this heavenly tribulation like tribulating heavens is enough to keep up with John Myung-hoon. With the acceleration of my consciousness added, I feel as fast as to consider John Myung-hoon trivial. We almost simultaneously enter the frozen world and thrust our swords and sabers towards each other. The next moment, habit. I suddenly realize that my body has been struck by 8 slashes. In an instant, 8 vital points have been cut. I continuously accelerate my consciousness. My brain overheats. Finally, I became aware of Kim Young-hoon above me, brandishing his saber downwards towards me. Habit. In the realm of extreme speed, I maneuver my body and thrust my sword. Palm. But Kim Young-hoon evades in an instant again. Insane. Even though I accelerated my mind to near stillness and gained speed close to lightning with tribulating heavens, I am barely keeping up through instincts. I can't even follow him with my eyes. My formless sword tries to capture him, changing infinitely, but the difference in speed is so great that it feels like all possibilities are blocked. He's fast. If we were to fight seriously, Ascension Path could collapse. So Kim Young-hoon and I are currently fighting with our powers limited to the core formation stage. Yet, even with our powers restricted, our speeds are beyond what that level could possibly follow. Flash. Suddenly, Kim Young-hoon, who had been sending saber strikes from in front of me, appears to my right, enveloped in the surpassing radiant saber, and kicks with a speed transcending lightning. Whoosh. I think I have been slashed at from the side, but suddenly, I am flying far away at an unimaginable velocity. Whoosh. In this still world, I am moving so fast it is hard to regain my senses. Crazy. One kick had sent me from the center of Ascension Path all the way to the heaven-treading desert. Flash. Before I can think further, Kim Young-hoon appears above me once more, ready to strike down vertically with his surpassing radiant saber. I chuckle wryly. Yes, indeed, I cannot even follow his heels with pure martial prowess. Then, here I come. I communicate through heart language, drawing upon the power of demon-beast methods. Kagugugu. Heaven and earth spiritual energy fortifies my body. My vitality surges, and the potential of my flesh soars immensely. Simultaneously, my upper, middle, and lower dantians are filled and strengthened with life force. The overheated upper dantian quickly stabilizes due to this enhancement. I have some leeway now. Yet, even with the added power of demon-beast methods, I continue to accelerate my mind even more. To the utmost, burn it to the limit. It feels as if time is being split even further. Together with this, I gradually begin to catch up to the speed of the golden-clad Kim Young-hoon moving within this frozen world. Kim Young-hoon smiles slightly in surprise in the halted realm. Is it my imagination? Or is it because I have entered too deeply into this still space? It feels as if the surroundings are darkening. In this world, only Kim Young-hoon and I have any color. Are you following me? Palm. We exchange clashes of sword and saber, rays clashing with rays. Our arms seem to split into thousands, and the colorless and golden rays collide wildly in the darkness of stillness. It's working. I grin, exhilarated. I'm keeping up. Before I knew it, we had already exchanged tens of thousands of strikes. Kagugugu. With each strike exchanged in this extremely rapid world, shockwaves flurry in all directions, stirring up storms throughout the heaven-treading desert. At the center of the chaos, he and I clash at a speed reminiscent of light. With every movement we make, the sand melts into glass. The vicinity of our battlefield quickly turns into a sea of molten glass. My body heats up so intensely that it seems to melt like water, and I step on this sea of molten glass, locking eyes with Kim Young-hoon. My body heats to a glowing red, and as I step on the sea of molten glass, akin to water, I lock eyes with Kim Young-hoon. If this continues, I will win. If I can just keep this up for a day, I can defeat Kim Young-hoon. Because I am confident that in that time, I can completely exhaust the energy in Kim Young-hoon's avatar. Of course, I feel that using a slightly more powerful technique would push him even further. Just when I think so. Very well. Within the darkness of the stopped world, Kim Young-hoon, wrapped in golden radiance, smiles. Kwon. He is struck by my attack and crashes into the sea of glass. While flying, he changes his posture and seizes the starting form, and in the next moment, he sends me a heart language. Then, Seo Eunhyun. Cholkik. With the heavenly being's foresight of celestial energy, the short-term insight of the demon beast methods, and the sixth sense of seeing intent as a heart tribe member, I see the future of being sliced up just before my death. From now on, I will begin to accelerate. What? So, was that just now? The pure capability of surpassing Radiant Saber without acceleration? The next moment, puck, I feel a golden saber entering through my unintentionally open mouth. The surpassing Radiant Saber doesn't stop. It continues into my mouth, severs my spine, and protrudes out the back of my head. It doesn't end there. Golden lines begin to embed themselves all over my body. I must counter. Preparing to be sliced up into a Seo Eunhyun without substance, I try to swing my colorless glass sword at him. But in an instant, flash. Before I can even realize what is happening, Kim Young-hoon's strong grip has seized my face and is flying somewhere. Behind his grip, a trail of golden light stretches out straight. The next moment, boom. With a tremendous explosion, I crash into somewhere. Splurt. I feel as though my entire body will explode, gushing blood from various places like a fountain. This is... Where am I? The western end. Beyond Shattered Heaven Peak, the world's end, I once visited with Buk Hyunghwa. Insane. I inwardly chuckle in disbelief, realizing I had gone from the center of the heaven-treading desert to the edge of the world without even noticing. Even sound couldn't catch up to Kim Young-hoon's saber strikes. I feel countless golden flashes slaughtering my whole body amassed at world's end. Certainly, I had entered the stopped world too. I had increased the potential of my flesh with demon beast methods, and there, I accelerated my consciousness of the heavenly being stage to the brink of bursting. The typical consciousness radius of a heavenly being stage cultivator is 100 li. Mine has a radius of 200 li. The consciousnesses of 5 energies converging to the origin and wonderfully mysterious innate heart canon, heaven tribe, and earth tribe, all overlapping, make the size of my consciousness absurdly huge compared to those of equal rank. Yet, even accelerating to the point of burning intensity, I am struggling to even follow Kim Young-hoon's heels. If this continues like this, I won't be able to keep up. If that's the case, it can't be helped. Demon beast methods felt like martial arts because they are the power of the body, but regrettably, I must resort to using spell techniques as well. I begin to draw upon the power of the heaven tribe too. Kim Young-hoon, emitting golden radiance from his eyes, launches thousands of slashes at Seo Eunhyun in the darkness. Even Changmun Ryong didn't die despite being sliced several times during his core formation days. But how many times must I cut down Seo Eunhyun at the heavenly being stage? It's hard to even guess. He intended to stop his slashes once the regeneration slowed. However, as if he became undying, the heaven and earth spiritual energy from the surroundings automatically flowed into Seo Eunhyun's body, replenishing his vitality. As long as heaven and earth spiritual energy exists here, the person before him is essentially undying. So, how can he possibly kill this undying body? Kim Young-hoon's conclusion is simple. I just need to keep slashing until every last strand of the local heaven and earth spiritual energy is swept away by the aftermath of my slashes. Each time he swings the surpassing radiant saber, shockwaves belatedly explode, causing natural disasters and burning the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. If there is no heaven and earth spiritual energy left for Seo Eunhyun to use for regeneration, then victory will undoubtedly be Kim Young-hoon's. It's when he thought so. Peirat. Seo Eunhyun's entire body is enveloped in a brilliant white light. Flying escape technique. Kim Young-hoon smirks. It's a spell used by core formation cultivators when they need to move long distances or increase their speed in combat. Primarily, it involves elevating the flow of spiritual energy etched in the golden core, so it's more of a unique capability of core formation cultivators than a spell technique. That is the flying escape technique. But Kim Young-hoon is not worried. At best, it's clumsy. The flying escape technique of core formation cultivators can never catch up to me, even if it's a heavenly being cultivator's flying escape technique. Kim Young-hoon, lifting the surpassing radiant saber, chuckles in the enveloped darkness. And in a flash, wawoom, through the tip of the surpassing radiant saber, Seo Eunhyun's tribulating heavens. The intent of the formless sword is heard. Cut. It's a voice he would have ignored just moments ago. However, Kim Young-hoon suddenly feels a chill down his spine. This is dangerous. Almost instinctively, he steps back. With one step backwards, he and the surpassing radiant saber instantly move 800 li away in the frozen darkness. However, Kim Young-hoon's golden pupils shrink tightly in the next moment. What? Seo Eun-hyun had followed. Using the flying escape technique, demon beast methods, and tribulating heavens. Accelerating to the extreme, the white light-clothed Seo Eun-hyun swings his sword at the golden-clad Kim Young-hoon. Kim Young-hoon grins, staring straight at the sword strike flying towards him from Seo Eun-hyun. A direct hit will annihilate the avatar. Kim Young-hoon's avatar has the same power as the original body in a short-term fight. In other words, the current Seo Eun-hyun is capable of exchanging blows on equal footing with the real Kim Young-hoon. But he's still a bit slower compared to me. Kim Young-hoon faces Seo Eun-hyun's sword with his surpassing radiant saber, dispersing and diverting the force of the strike. Even a dodge will lead to annihilation. I need to deflect and neutralize the energy. The force it carries is palpable. Just the shockwave alone will certainly leave his whole body tingling. Hyok. Keh up. The next moment, Kim Young-hoon spits out a clump of golden light with a hollow laugh. Just as Kim Young-hoon had impaled Seo Eun-hyun at the western end. Under Seo Eun-hyun's strike, Kim Young-hoon was impaled at the northern end, beyond the northern plains. Just now, the avatar was almost annihilated. Kim Young-hoon gathers his energy, salvaging his nearly shattered avatar while lifting the surpassing radiant saber. Seo Eun-hyun is not as fast as Kim Young-hoon. Hence, even though he had sent Kim Young-hoon flying, he still hasn't caught up to him completely. But a proper hit, and it's over. Kim Young-hoon laughs, sweating coldly. The laughter continues incessantly. He is exhilarated. He feels like he might go mad with joy. Was the last time I felt this thrilled since Baduk, when I faced the madman Chongmon Ryong at the nascent soul stage, and when I faced the Bukyang fleet? Huh. Do you know the saying that boredom drives a person mad? That is precisely the state Kim Young-hoon is in right now. Flash. A brilliant white light streaks across towards the northern end. Boom. Within the swarm of white light, a formless slash stretches out long, aiming directly at Kim Young-hoon. Kim Young-hoon quickly dodges the sword strike. Kwang. Where he had been standing. At the northern end of the world shield force craters in, and part of the dimensional barrier tears open. The dimensional barrier that the main body had to join forces with the Bukyang fleet to tear apart at full strength. Kim Young-hoon locks eyes with Seo Eun-hyun, who had torn open the dimensions barrier with the three great ultimates behind his head. The full force of the original body. Kim Young-hoon is sweating coldly, and at the same time, he feels a chilling and exhilarating delirium about to drive him insane. To you, is it just a simple strike? Seo Eun-hyun silently spreads his hands. Around him, 3,000 colorless glass swords arise, and the formless sword interweaves these glass swords. Pot. He swings the surpassing radiant saber without giving Seo Eun-hyun a chance to react. As Seo Eun-hyun, enveloped in the formless sword, waves his hand, the slash from the surpassing radiant saber is deflected, and 3,000 colorless glass swords rain down on the spot Kim Young-hoon had been. Ping. Seo Eun-hyun opens a sword formation. Within the sword formation, the sword energy amplifies, and he begins to exude an ominous and chilling intent. Kagugugu. Leaving behind the dimensional barrier that is automatically restoring itself due to the world's regenerative power. Seo Eun-hyun exchanges glances with Kim Young-hoon, his eyes flickering wildly. Both are madmen. Still, I am 3 moves ahead. Kim Young-hoon grins. Seo Eun-hyun hasn't yet fully adapted to Kim Young-hoon's speed. He still has the upper hand in speed when facing Seo Eun-hyun. And that should be enough. Kim Young-hoon holds the surpassing radiant saber and smiles. His mind whirls furiously, analyzing Seo Eun-hyun's movements. He reads his purpose. Linking situation to situation, he begins to combine martial arts appropriate for the moment. Why is it? Facing Kim Young-hoon, I realize that he is creating a martial art right now. How do I know that? No matter how much I read his intent or heart essence, I can only guess about the opponent's state and background. I can't know everything about the opponent. There is no way to know what he is thinking right at this moment. However, somehow I feel that Kim Young-hoon is creating a martial art, and I seem to know what martial art he is creating. Pong. Within the sword formation, I compress the formless sword into a thread and swing guiding to the summit at Kim Young-hoon. Seeing the technique, Kim Young-hoon flinches slightly, then steps forward with his right foot, cutting through guiding to the summit with 3 slashes, and takes the starting form. I read Kim Young-hoon's intention while continuing to exchange blows with him. I can feel it. What martial art he is trying to create. What intention he has and how he is creating what martial art. I think I know. I realize how this can be possible. The fourth sense I had recently begun to feel. Slightly different from the Heart Tribe's vision, but very similar and complementary to it. This sense is informing me. Pong. Sparks fly in my mind. In my head, the martial art Kim Young-hoon is trying to create starts to be predicted. I predict what Kim Young-hoon is creating, and before he can execute the martial art, I think of the perfect countermeasure. And then, as I feign attacking him with my intent, when he actually uses that martial art, I counter it. Kim Young-hoon then instantly creates a countermeasure in response and retaliates against me. Even with my senses, I can't follow if he again creates a countermeasure and retaliates against me. However, pong. With a feeling of sparks flying in my head, I realize something. I understand what I have realized. At the same time, I also finally understand the identity of the fourth sense I had been experiencing up to now. While performing a horizontal slash at Kim Young-hoon and simultaneously changing my footwork from the lower right to upper left, facing his surpassing radiant saber with my colorless glass swords, I exchange what can only be described as dialogue with him. Yes, this is dialogue. At the same time, it is a game of Go. My intention and Kim Young-hoon's intention intertwine, engaging each other in conversation. So that's it. All this time, this is the world Kim Young-hoon had been living in. At some point, I completely synchronize with Kim Young-hoon, countering the martial arts he creates with my martial prowess, breaking down his moves and countering the counters. Pong. In the frozen world, we prepare our decisive strikes to unleash on each other. But at the last moment, Kim Young-hoon's surpassing radiant saber accelerates, and my sword does not. Pong. Finally, the halted world is released. Our duel has ended. Kim Young-hoon's surpassing radiant saber is at my neck, and my formless sword hangs downward. However, Kim Young-hoon just smiles silently. Easy. The golden energy flowing through his worn saber disperses. I have lost. Kim Young-hoon verbally admits his defeat. At the last moment, if you had swung your sword, your head would have flown off, but my body would have exploded into mush. You can regenerate your head, but if my body explodes, that's the end for me, so it's my loss. I resheath my colorless glass sword into my golden core while raising my hand. And then I wipe my eyes. Kim Young-hoon looks at me and grins. Brilliant. You see and hear the same things I do. So it seems, you have been living in such a world. I sit down abruptly. Tears wouldn't stop. Not swinging my sword at Kim Young-hoon wasn't due to any sentimental reason. If anything, had I stopped my sword out of a notion of consideration, Kim Young-hoon would have been furious. The reason I couldn't swing my sword was that I was overwhelmed by burgeoning emotions. Today, I understood the identity of the fourth sense. The sense I had recently begun to awaken is the same as Kim Young-hoon's, a perception belonging to the same category as Kim Young-hoon's talent. I had died 17 times. Living for 2,500 years since reaching first rate, I have never been without a sword. Martial arts had become my life. And now, I have finally blossomed the talent that Kim Young-hoon possessed. It is still incomparable to Kim Young-hoon, as if not even worthy to be dust under his feet. Kim Young-hoon's sense reaches beyond the heavens. If his talent feels connected to somewhere, directly receiving creativity from somewhere, my talent is akin to water droplets falling drop by drop. A stalagmite built upon those water droplets. Even that is minuscule, no larger than a fingernail. To reach beyond the heavens like him, not just 1,000, but perhaps 100 billion years might be needed. However, what matters is that it blossomed from barren ground. Currently, merely recognizing intentions is all I can manage. But if this sense reaches the heavens, combining and deconstructing intentions and creating martial arts in real time, just like Kim Young-hoon, might be within my grasp. Martial arts are my life, and the martial arts I have diligently practiced have never betrayed me. Chapter 271, Pillar 2. Translator, Translating Novice. Editor, Z0rel. Join the Discord for chapter updates and important news. John Myung-hoon gazes vacantly into the air. Fast. Incredibly fast. It's so fast that it's hard to comprehend what's happening. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. He stares blankly as Seo Eun-hyun and Kim Young-hoon clash rapidly in front of his eyes, and then suddenly disappear towards the direction of the heaven-treading desert. What just happened? He scratches his head, puzzled. Roughly speaking, Seo Eun-hyun and Kim Young-hoon had suddenly drawn their swords, looked each other in the eyes, laughed like mad, and then charged at each other, colliding furiously. That is what John Myung-hoon saw from his perspective just moments ago. I thought Director Kim was strange for liking things like hiking since working at the company, but I never imagined Seo Eun-hyun to be that crazy too. John Myung-hoon clicks his tongue as he watches the direction where the two had vanished. A minute or two passes. Pop. Kim Young-hoon and Seo Eun-hyun return. Have you returned? John Myung-hoon looks at the two of them. Seo Eun-hyun had neatly adjusted his clothing using a clothing spell, but Kim Young-hoon's clothes are tattered in many places. Yeah, that was fun. Well, if the director had fun, that's good, I guess. John Myung-hoon nods indifferently. More importantly, director. Shall we go now? Go. Where to? Where to? Did you come here just to have a sword fight with Seo Eun-hyun? I came here for that, yes? John Myung-hoon decides to give up on understanding Kim Young-hoon. Well, anyway, Seo Eun-hyun, I have something to tell you that doesn't concern the director. Follow me. With that, John Myung-hoon floats up into the air. Something to tell me? What does he mean? I wonder at John Myung-hoon's words, and soon feel a calm descending as I sense his intent. The joy and excitement of checking my level of martial prowess while clashing with Kim Young-hoon vanishes. Jolt! John Myung-hoon turns into a streak of red lightning and soars west through the air. I follow him, and Kim Young-hoon chases after me. Kurung, kurung. As I chase after John Myung-hoon, I form a hand seal. Click, click, click. As I form the hand seal, the surrounding spiritual energy moves, and the clothing spell activates. Clothing spell. Below the core formation stage, clothing is not easily torn due to protective body force. However, cultivators at the nascent soul stage or higher often face attacks that can even penetrate the protective body force during combat, resulting in torn or burned clothes. Hence the need for a technique to repair clothing. This technique twists spiritual power to create clothing. During my nascent soul days, I could only make one set of clothes. But upon reaching the heavenly being stage, various kinds of clothes can be made as nearby heaven and earth spiritual energy gathers. Sut. My pure white garment turns black like Kim Young-hoon's. John Myung-hoon glances back at me and also changes into black garments using the clothing spell. Papabat. Changing into morning clothes, we finally reach the west. The Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect had re-established itself at Shattered Heaven Peak. As befits cultivators, all the civil engineering work was already completed and pavilions sprouted all over Shattered Heaven Peak. At the same time, these pavilions suppressed the Dragon Vein and created formations, forming the sect's defensive grand array. The administrative system also seems nearly restored, so in essence, the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect has succeeded in continuing its lineage in the head realm. As John Myung-hoon, Kim Young-hoon, and I appear overhead, disciples from various parts of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect rush out. 30,000 disciples originating from the vast cold realm, and another 30,000 from the head realm. A total of 60,000 disciples. Among them, there are only 3,000 chi refining cultivators. The overwhelming majority are chi building cultivators, and there are also 1,000 core formation cultivators. Simply put, just the lower lightning disciples of the current Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect amount to more than the entire power of the head realm combined. And among them, the disciple with the highest level of cultivation in the core formation stage, Jin Hae-min, a descendant of Jin Jinshan, rises into the air and pays his respects to us. This disciple greets the Grand Elders of the Heavenly Lightning. Good. Sect leader should prepare. Since Grand Elder Seo has awakened, it is now appropriate to hold the memorial. It seems that John Myung-hoon had naturally appointed Jin Hae-min as the new sect leader. Why didn't you take the position of sect leader yourself? I ask him. John Myung-hoon shakes his head with a self-mocking smile. I'm not worthy. If only I had trusted you, a fellow townsman, a little more, none of this would have happened. I am not worthy to uphold the Jin lineage. That's why I did not take the position of sect leader. I see. Jin Hae-min also has excellent achievements in the 7 lightning quaking scripture and is on the verge of reaching the nascent soul stage, so he should be capable enough to handle it. I silently follow John Myung-hoon. After a while, John Myung-hoon, Kim Young-hoon, and I, along with Jin Hae-min, reach the lower areas of Shattered Heaven Peak. There are numerous flags planted there. These are not banners, but rather flags. In the future, the use of banner-type Dharma treasures will be prohibited within the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect. There are no corpses in the graves. That is to be expected, as none of those present that day had left a body behind. Hong Surayong was also turned to soil by me with the Een Soul Ghost incantation. Still, John Myung-hoon visits each false grave where no bodies rest. He walks through all those tens of thousands of false graves, and having received a bottle of liquor from Jin Hae-min, he poured it out. Walking through all those tens of thousands of false graves, he receives a bottle of liquor from Jin Hae-min and pours it out. I follow John Myung-hoon. Kim Young-hoon, being an outsider, does not follow us but simply stands far away and pays his respects quietly. John Myung-hoon and I, followed by Jin Hae-min and countless disciples of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect, pour liquor on tens of thousands of graves, which takes a long time. It takes us about 10 days to pour liquor on most of the graves. How much time has passed? Only the graves of the grand elders remain, and I personally pour liquor on Hong Surayong's grave. Jin Heimin pours liquor on the graves of Jin Jinshan and Jin Min. And when we reach the graves of Jin Byuk-ho and Jin Sohei, we pause. Their graves are at the very edge of the cemetery. Slowly, John Myung-hoon pours the liquor slowly. Soon, when the bottle is empty, he reaches out to Jin Heimin again. Jin Heimin, who had diligently brought and refilled the liquor every time it ran out during these days, looks at John Myung-hoon with slightly puzzled eyes. I read John Myung-hoon's intent and signal to Jin Heimin with my eyes. Receiving my cue, he quickly fetches another bottle. John Myung-hoon opens that bottle and pours all its contents on the grave of Jin Sohei. Then he extends his hand again. John Myung-hoon ends up pouring 21 bottles of liquor on the grave of Jin Sohei alone. The ground became so saturated it's almost muddied. Churuk. When John Myung-hoon finally stops his hand, I notice that his eyes are reddened. Today, Wawum. As he speaks, the heaven and earth spiritual energy naturally vibrates, spreading John Myung-hoon's words everywhere. Today, the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect bids farewell to our old fellow Taoists. He continues. Many have perished due to the schemes of the old demon, slain by the great lightning god. Everyone, engrave that day in your hearts. Remember those fellow Taoists who died at the hands of that mighty being. Our sect's seniors, grand elders, and countless friends were taken from us that day. Among them were those who had been with us from the head realm, and those we met anew in the bright cold realm. There were those who were reaching new heights in their cultivation, and those who had just begun their path to immortality. There were men and women, the young and those reaching their tranquil ends. There were joyful practitioners reaching the peak of joy in dual cultivation, dreamers with vast ambitions, and the steadfast souls tirelessly forging ahead on their path. His voice is heavier than it had ever been before. At the same time, I observe the intent emanating from John Myung-hoon. Still, his rage has not yet subsided. However, unlike in his past lives, this time, there are those who share his anger. Remember, disciples of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect. Today should be remembered as the day a new Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect was born. Today we must engrave one thing in our hearts. Crack, crackle. Red lightning begins to spark from John Myung-hoon's body. Remember this fury. Understand this anger. Disciples, I vow here. I, John Myung-hoon, born with the heavenly golden thunder body of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect, will definitely, he cries out towards the heavens, reach the true immortal stage and avenge us against the great immortal who trampled us. At his words, cheers erupt all around. We will help you. Let us join you. Yes, you all will come with me as far as you can go. More cheers erupt. Ea-ea-wa. Ea. Ea-yowa. It resembles the war cries of warriors before going into battle. No, perhaps they were just screams. The screams of those who could not overcome the pain of losing their families. And then, John Myung-hoon also begins to scream. Ea-ea-wa. I, too, mix with them, letting out my emotions. Ha-ea-wa. Together, we gather and release our emotions towards the heavens. Quarararum. The red lightning bursting from John Myung-hoon's body grows in intensity and turns into red lightning bolts scorching the sky. Kurum. Ea-ea-wa. John Myung-hoon, within a pillar of light, strikes with the red lightning heavenly tribulation towards the sky, crying out like that. Quarung quarum. How long did he scream? After some time, the bursts of lightning cease from him. He takes over the remaining proceedings of the memorial. After the memorial ends, the disciples return to Shattered Heaven Peak. However, among the disciples, those who had lost their friends, relatives, or kin in this tragedy remain by the graves for a while, swallowing their sorrow. John Myung-hoon stands for a long time in front of the graves of Jin Sohei and Jin Byuk-ho. I, too, pay my respects in front of the grave of Hong Surayong next to him. And then, a month passes. SSSSSHHH. Now, only John Myung-hoon and I are standing in front of the graves. The other disciples didn't have the physical strength to stand in front of the tombs, maintaining their grief and anger for so long. Suddenly, John Myung-hoon raises his head in the rain amidst the rain. Seo-eun-hyun, do you know? What is it? It's something I've realized this time. Plop. Unperturbed by the rain, he kneels in front of Jin Sohei's grave and sweeps over it. Click. Suddenly, he pulls a small wooden box from his robes. Inside the box is a single, crisply fried hand. Looking at the size and shape of the hand, I guess its original form before it had been fried. And I know who the hand belonged to. Jin Sohei. John Myung-hoon, carefully taking the fried hand out of the box, holds it tenderly. Drip, drip, drip. It's unclear whether the drops falling from his face are rain or tears. His eyes are fiercely red. Anger, perhaps, is something that is truly necessary in this world. He continues while holding Jin Sohei's hand. Anger is a cycle. It clears blockages, resists what is wrong, and can also be a driving force in life. Even if all will is lost, it forcibly moves people. It's somewhat similar to a heavenly tribulation. I read John Myung-hoon's intent. His intent is mostly dyed in deep red, although not as much as in his past life. I know this intent is barely holding John Myung-hoon from wanting to die right now. Literally, he is living by his anger. Life is essentially anger. His face contorts as he speaks. That's what I've come to realize. This is Sohei's hand, and I the true immortal who brought down heavenly punishment. I will kill that being, retrieve the heavenly lightning banner, and make it mine. Only after taking such revenge, fulfilling the vendetta of the golden divine heavenly thunder sect, will I. His hands tremble as he lifts Jin Sohei's hand. Will I finally lay Sohei to rest? He isn't completely mad. A strand of reason still remains in him, but his life is yet again marked by anger. I nod as I look at him. Yes. I acknowledge John Myung-hoon's anger. I understand his pain. And then, but John Myung-hoon. What is it? I suggest to him what comes after anger and revenge. After you've quenched your anger, please, make sure to lay Jin Sohei to rest here. All right, I understand. Thus, the revenge-obsessed lightning harbinger becomes John Myung-hoon, sharing his anger with 60,000 survivors and looking forward to what comes after vengeance. We completed the entire morning ceremony. John Myung-hoon, as the sole Grand Elder of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect for a while, personally oversaw the sect's affairs with the sect leader, Jin Hae-min. After helping with basic duties, I met with Kim Young-hoon again. Thank you for paying your respects last time, even though you are not from the same sect. Not at all. It's only right to show respect given how they died. Thank you. I thank Kim Young-hoon for his matter-of-fact response. After leaving the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect and crossing the Great Mountains, arriving in Shungzi, we settle in a local inn and start talking. So, Young-hoon Hyungnim, what is it? I ask him. Can you please tell me what has been happening in the lower realm all this time? What has happened for Kim Young-hoon to possess the strength of the four-axis stage? Where has the cunning fox gone? And what stage has Chongmun Ryong and Seo Ran reached? And Huanghua, my curiosity is immense. But the next moment, I'm startled by Kim Young-hoon's expression. His face is rigid, and his intent is severely fluctuating. Kim Young-hoon speaks in a somber voice. Where should I start? First off, yes, the circumstances that allowed me to reach this realm. That is, the following words of Kim Young-hoon nearly make me blast the city where the inn is located away. Let me start with the story of how we ended up killing our greatest adversary, the madman Chongmun Ryong. Translator notes, N.O. Chongmun Ryong. Chapter 272, Pillar 3. Translator, Translating Novice. Editor, Z0 Rel. Join the Discord for chapter updates and important news. Kagugagu. In one of the cities of the Shungzi, the people of Daoyan City, one of the cities close to the Great Mountain Range, suddenly found it difficult to breathe. Doesn't it feel a bit stifling? The air feels as heavy as a rock, and I'm feeling weak. It's hard to breathe. That was the level of impact on ordinary people, but it was different for the martial artists. GRRGH. My energy. My internal energy suddenly solidified. I'm breathing, but no energy is coming in. Breathing is difficult. Their internal energy solidified and would not move. Moreover, the cultivators were even more seriously affected. GRRK. One of the cultivators of Shungzi collapsed on the ground, foaming at the mouth. GRRK. All the spiritual veins in their body had solidified, as did the heaven and earth spiritual energy they breathed. The murderous intent mixed in this heaven and earth spiritual energy was putting immense pressure on the minds of the cultivators. This pressure was most severe on the chi-building cultivators, and those in the core formation stage managed to stagger and resist by drawing on the power of their golden cores. None of them understood why the heaven and earth spiritual energy had changed and why such a natural disaster had occurred. I try to keep my expression, but my face hardens involuntarily. A while later, I gather my composure, retract the killing intent, and control my intent. I'm sorry. The Chongmun clan also exists in the bright cold realm, and I overreacted because I heard about someone known as Chongmun Ryong from among them. I apologize to Kim Young-hoon. Kim Young-hoon smiles bitterly. A friend of a friend? I understand. Thinking about how my friend would be saddened, anger can well up. But I had no choice. Rather than saying I killed him, it's more accurate to say I put him in a vegetative state. Hearing the term vegetative state, I barely managed to control my intent. So he's not dead. There's still a chance then. There might be no way in this world, but with how many artifacts and elixirs there are in the bright cold realm, there should be a way to treat him. Chongmun Ryong reaching the core formation stage and his monumental achievements were a turning point in the history of this world. Yes, it's best to start explaining from here. First, Kim Young-hoon's explanation continues. The butterfly effect of the many fates I had changed in this world had a significant impact. First, under the leadership of the Changmun clan, the major clans of the Western Three Kingdoms formed an alliance called the Pure Friends Alliance. The purpose of this organization, created to cooperate in areas other than their respective territories while respecting each other's domains, was an association with the mysteriously wealthy Changmun clan and the remnants of the Black Ghost Valley that collaborated with them. Song Jin, the remnant soul of a heavenly being stage cultivator and an entity at the core formation stage, was said to have grown his influence by coming and going from the serving command palace with the help of his demi-human hybrid disciple, Seo Ran. Kim Young-hoon, unlike in his previous life, had to face cultivators right from the start. Being a martial artist guarded by a fox at the core formation stage, he naturally drew the attention of the Pure Friends Alliance cultivators. At first, Kim Young-hoon was nearly beaten to death by the fox, but he quickly improved his skills by sparring with the cultivators from Pure Friends Alliance who came looking for him. After about 5 years, Kim Young-hoon reached entering heavens, attaining the level where he could thrash the fox. From that point on, he was able to receive news about the cultivation world, which was undergoing a great transformation under the leadership of the Pure Friends Alliance with the Changmun clan at its core. And within the Changmun clan, Changmun Ryong, who received an insane amount of cultivator resources and reached a significant level, was at the center of change. Changmun Ryong had been studying the enlightenment and formulas for the Qi building late stage, grand perfection, and even the early core formation stage through understanding before breakthrough. In just 5 years, after being supported with a mind-boggling amount of spiritual stones by the entire Changmun clan, he immediately pursued both understanding before breakthrough and breakthrough before understanding, overcoming his frail constitution, and finally became a core formation cultivator. Kim Young-hoon's first opponent was Changmun Ryong, and Kim Young-hoon, who had thrashed the mid-core formation stage fox after reaching entering heavens, found himself nearly killed by Changmun Ryong, who had just reached the core formation stage. That day was the first time Kim Young-hoon had been defeated by a human cultivator. Nevertheless, from that day on, Changmun Ryong and Kim Young-hoon strangely clicked and shared both hardships and joys. The two became friends, and Kim Young-hoon joined the Pure Friends Alliance, gradually improving his martial arts skills to the point where he could defeat Changmun Ryong after several confrontations. Kim Young-hoon, fighting against Changmun Ryong and the fox, insanely quickly accumulated martial arts experience and raced towards the concepts of treading heavens that floated in his mind. Things were peaceful for a while. That is, until Song Jin made a request to the Pure Friends Alliance. I intend to enter the astronomical observatory of the Sea Dragon tribe at the southern end, and basic repairs to the Nether Crossing ship are required for entry. Please gather magic artifact craftsmen who can repair the Nether Crossing ship. At Song Jin's request, renowned magic artifact craftsmen from all over the Pure Friends Alliance gathered like a swarm of bees. It was an opportunity to see the legendary Nether Crossing ship of the Black Ghost Valley. Among them, taking over one of the positions of the Three Greats of Qi building from Changmun Ryong, who recently reached core formation in Biokra, Bu Qianghua of magic artifacts was the top talent. Impressed by her skills, Song Jin chose her along with 100 other talented magic artifact craftsmen to study at Serving Command Palace, and entrusted them with the repair of the Nether Crossing ship. During this process, Bu Qianghua became a core member of the Pure Friends Alliance, along with Changmun Ryong. And she also became acquainted with Kim Young-hoon, a friend of Changmun Ryong, and formed a connection with them. Particularly, Changmun Ryong always viewed Bu Qianghua, who succeeded his position in the Three Greats of Qi building, with satisfaction for her efforts and talent. Another 5 years passed in such peace, and under the leadership of Bu Qianghua, the basic repairs of the Nether Crossing her were finally completed. Song Jin was very pleased and rewarded Bu Qianghua, and he then entered the place called the Astronomical Observatory in the Sea Dragon Palace using the Nether Crossing ship. The problem started from there. Kim Young-hoon's eyes become complicated. Song Jin asked Changmun Ryong to use the observational equipment found at the Astronomical Observatory to find out something. The basic spells are a foundational language used in the cultivator world, and he said he needed Changmun Ryong's help, who had mastered this language to its extremes. Celestial observation? After all, Changmun Ryong was adept at celestial observation and exploring constellations, so he would have been able to handle the devices at the Astronomical Observatory as well. And then, Changmun Ryong went to the place called the Astronomical Observatory at the Sea Dragon Palace with Song Jin, and spent several years interpreting the data. On the 14th year since I arrived here, I reached treading heavens after thrashing Baduk. Wait, who is this Baduk? Ah, that's what I call that fox. It reminded me of a stray dog I used to have as a kid, so I started calling it that. Isn't naming it after a childhood pet kind of like animal abuse? What animal abuse? Animal abuse applies to helpless animals that can't speak for themselves, not to that creature that was ready to tear off my limbs and chew me up. Yes, well, so what happened? Well, I defeated that fox that reached the grand perfection core formation stage and reached treading heavens. And then I went south to brag to my friend, Chongmun Ryong. There at the astronomical observatory at the southern end, I found Chongmun Ryong had gone mad. Exclamation point. I tried stopping him because I was worried about his state, but he wouldn't listen. Instead, he attacked me in a rage. He attacked with the intent to kill, so I had to suppress him. But at that moment, Chongmun Ryong broke free from my grasp and started eating the data he had interpreted. Yes, I asked back, not understanding. What do you mean by ate? He ate it. He literally ate the astronomical data papers. Anyway, after eating those pieces of paper, Chongmun Ryong's power surged dramatically. He then attacked me, claiming he had successfully interpreted the truth of the world. I almost died from that attack. Exclamation point. I asked incredulously. Chongmun Ryong's attack hit you? Yes. How could Kim Young-hoon, who embodies surpassing radiance, be hit at a core formation level attack? Even at the heavenly being stage, there's no guarantee that treading heaven's Kim Young-hoon could be hit. As I'm shocked, Kim Young-hoon continues his explanation. It was strange. It was less about the accuracy of the attack and more as if there was a concept that made it bound to hit. Evading is forbidden. And I was truly fighting for my life to escape from Chongmun Ryong's sight. At the bottom of the Sea Dragon Palace, I barely managed to escape with Song Jin, who had been hiding from Chongmun Ryong's eyes aboard the Nether Crossing ship. He went to find Chongmun Ryong like me and nearly died from the same experience. But even with the Nether Crossing ship, he couldn't escape Chongmun Ryong's gaze. When we did successfully escape, Song Jin, together with Seo Ran, insisted, if we don't kill Chongmun Ryong, the insane nascent soul stage Chongmun Ryong will annihilate the entire world. And I couldn't refute Song Jin's words. The Chongmun Ryong I saw then was not the person I knew. Kim Young-hoon speaks with a somber expression. My face hardens as I listen. As we escaped from Chongmun Ryong, the Nether Crossing ship, which was shattered beyond recognition, was successfully repaired by Buk Hyunghwa, one of the three greats of Qi building. Fortunately, Song Jin had managed to scrape together treasures hidden at the bottom of the Sea Dragon Palace while he was hiding, and she used them to nearly perfectly repair the Nether Crossing ship. Not only that, but she also started producing mass-produced Nether Crossing ships. At some point, the patterns on her face changed from 4 to 3, and from then on, mass-produced Nether Crossing ships began to pour out. Extraordinary Pattern Law Talent, 3 Pattern Law Talent. Extraordinary Pattern Law Talent ranges from 7 pattern to 1 pattern. From 7 to 4, the range is from an ordinary genius to the prodigy level. However, from a 3 pattern onwards, truly demonic talent is said to be exhibited. Did she become a 3 pattern? But the mass production of Nether Crossing ships. I'm startled that such a fearsome weapon was being mass-produced, and it raises questions. I know that Nether Crossing ships require a tremendous power source, but where did she find the power source for all those ships? Well, initially, she just gathered a stupid number of cultivators, crammed in an absurd amount of spiritual power, and operated a fleet of mass-produced Nether Crossing ships, collectively called the Buk Hyang Fleet. Who came up with the name Buk Hyang Fleet? Buk Hyunghwa herself named it. I can't help but chuckle at that, feeling sorry for her, but thinking the name was a bit poorly chosen. I feel sorry towards her, but that's a poorly chosen name. The thought that I would have come up with something far more impressive leaves me feeling slightly regretful. Well, anyway, the first Chongmun Ryong subjugation expedition by me, the Buk Hyang Fleet, and the core formation stage cultivators of the Pure Friends Alliance was thus assembled. First expedition implies. Right. It was a spectacular failure. The Buk Hyang Fleet was nearly annihilated, and many of the core formation cultivators returned with critical injuries. A few even died. But there was a result. Kim Young-hoon's eyes light up. We managed to split open Chongmun Ryong's stomach once and extract something from inside him. Excuse me. At the mention of slicing open Chongmun Ryong's stomach, I grimace, not sure how to react. What did you extract? It turned out to be the astronomical data Chongmun Ryong had ingested. Strangely, these documents had solidified into a stone-like form after melting inside his body, performing the role of a nascent soul within him to some extent. Anyway, we managed to retrieve that strange stone and retreated. And then, he smiled slightly. According to Song Jin, that bizarre stone contained as much power as a Nether Crossing ship's power source. So, we entrusted the complete repair of the Nether Crossing ship to Buk Hyunghwa, and on that day, the Nether Crossing ship of the Black Ghost Valley regained its power. It was truly tremendous. Nether Crossing ship. I recall the 2 remaining Nether Crossing ships of the Black Ghost Valley. Thinking of the aura I had felt from those 2 ships, a chill runs through my body. Insane. Is that even possible? What exactly had Chongmun Ryong interpreted that such a monstrously powerful material, capable of powering a nether-crossing ship, was synthesized within his body. Anyway, with the support of the nether-crossing ship, the second Changman Ryong subjugation expedition began. Of course, that failed too, but you can guess what happened next, right? Yes, you somehow managed to obtain that strange stone from Changman Ryong again. That's right. Due to the bizarre material continuously generated inside Changman Ryong, our forces became stronger. The Buqiang fleet began to display an increasingly incredible might over time. And so, for over 40 years, we had to continuously undertake expeditions against Changman Ryong. Torment is evident on Kim Young-hoon's face. After 25 years in this world, I was pushed to the brink of death by the madman Changman Ryong several times eventually. I gained enlightenment at Shattered Heaven Peak and achieved Shattering Heavens. But by that point, Changman Ryong had gradually become someone I no longer knew. Changman Ryong was no more, and he gradually mutated into a monster. I stroked my face, growing increasingly grim at the unfolding tale. I had to kill him as he became a monster. But at the same time, my desire to save my friend was also incredibly strong. Thus, I desperately sought the next realm. I yearned and yearned, and yearned even more, training my entire body's muscles to the very brink. Sacrificing my own lifespan, I trained furiously within the accelerated time of the surpassing Radiant Saber. Thus, I reached the next just to give Changman Ryong peace. Kim Young-hoon sweeps his hand across his face. A bitter smile lingers on his face. So I finally reached the next. Using the technique I achieved beyond, I successfully sealed Changman Ryong's soul. Thus, Changman Ryong left his mutated body inside the astronomical observatory and fell into a vegetative state. Is that so? Do you know? Kim Young-hoon says. The moment I swung my last saber towards Changman Ryong, he regained his senses at the end. We thought of him as a monster, but then it became clear. Changman Ryong was actually suppressing something sprouting within him with his own mental strength. We believed we had to eliminate him to save the world, but in reality, Changman Ryong was alone, contending with something within him and saving the world. With a trembling voice, I asked slowly, just what exactly is it? My pupils shake wildly. What had Changman Ryong interpreted, and what was influencing him? I don't know. At the end, Changman Ryong said he had partly interpreted the heavens. I'm not sure if it was a metaphor or something else, but through the astronomical observatory's observational equipment and his understanding of basic spells, he seemed to have witnessed something. Yes, that was certainly his monumental achievement. And because of that achievement, he ended up like that. So great was his intellect that he witnessed great wisdom. But what exactly was this wisdom that led him to such a state? I recalled John Hyang's diary, how observing the heavens caused his head to hurt. And I remember Yang Sujin's words, that this world is ominous. Zhongli's words also come to mind. Entities comparable to governing immortals have perished abundantly here. Changman Ryong surely interpreted the data based on his own understanding of basic spells, using the data discovered by the Sea Dragon tribe's astronomers like John Hyang and others after entering the astronomical observatory. Basic spell decrees are fundamentally about the essence of qi. The qi refining stage is about understanding the essence of qi, a foundational stage for embedding the heavens into oneself. And Changman Ryong interpreted the observational data of the head realm's heavens based on his understanding of qi, and as a result, he became the being that Kim Young-hoon described. In the end, Changman Ryong taught Buqiang how to extract the knowledge from the strange stones that came out of his body without being overwhelmed by madness before he went to sleep. Following his instructions, Buqiang obtained a fraction of the knowledge contained in the stones and once again strengthened the Buqiang fleet. That pretty much concludes the story about Changman Ryong, the Buqiang fleet, and myself. He speaks in a bitter tone. Do you now understand my realm? It's a realm I forged with all my might to give my friend peace. But even though I put him to rest, it was by my hands that I cut him down. I don't want to name this realm I reached by cutting down my friend. So, I left this realm unnamed. Is that so? After reaching this realm, I almost went mad. I even fought against Buqiang's enhanced Buqiang fleet, and when that too became trivial, I really lived only practicing madly. If I hadn't done so, the sensation of sealing Changman Ryong's soul would have kept coming back. But eventually, it became dull, and that sensation kept resurfacing. Everything became so trivial, and I was so utterly bored that I was on the verge of truly going mad, until Seo Ran and Song Jin found an ancient document. I quietly listened to him speak. He suggested that there might be a way to restore and heal Changman Ryong to his original state in a world called the Ancient Force Realm. Originally, we had planned to ascend after the Ascension Gate opened 1,000 years later, but the plan changed. Kim Young-hoon's eyes shine. Me. In order to save Changman Ryong, Buqiang to further strengthen the seal on the power emanating from the strange rocks that came out of Chongmun Ryong's body. Seo Ran and Song Jin, to find a countermeasure against someone named Seo Huiol. Each of us with our own reasons decided to ascend to the Ancient Force Realm. Ancient Force Realm. I recall the Ancient Force Realm. I don't know much, but I had heard it takes 1,000 years just to travel back and forth from the Bright Cold Realm, and special conditions are required to enter. Is there a way to ascend only to the Ancient Force Realm? I asked, puzzled. Ascending to the Bright Cold Realm was easy because of the Ascension Gate. However, ascending to other middle realms is purely a matter of luck based on one's own cultivation methods. But the Ancient Force Realm? Kim Young-hoon nods and explains. Song Jin measured something, and it turns out all of us were qualified to enter the Ancient Force Realm. Those who are qualified and receive the blessing of the Serving Command Seal have a high chance of ascending to the Ancient Force Realm. And, depending on the position of the heavens in this world, he also told us which middle realm we are a little closer to. The Ancient Force Realm is said to be closest above the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect, near the sky of Shattered Heaven Peak. Therefore, Bu Qianghua and I combined our powers to pierce through the unusually thick dimensional barrier of Shattered Heaven Peak sky, and I left a part of me to watch over Chongmun Ryong in this world before ascending. That's the whole story of my experiences in this world. I am truly grateful to you. If you hadn't appeared, my avatar in this world would have slowly gone mad. That would have affected the original body as well. You can't imagine how much this heart has been relieved by your appearance. It seems that Kim Young-hoon's thrill in our confrontations included that reason as well. Listening to his story, I'm stunned by the completely overturned fate of the head realm. After a while of listening somberly, I ask him one thing. I am acquainted with someone related to Chongmun Ryong. I have a rather inseparable connection with that person, so I must check on Chongmun Ryong's condition. The acquaintance I am talking about is myself. I look at Kim Young-hoon and ask, you mentioned using the capabilities of that realm to seal Chongmun Ryong's soul, right? Yes. Please lead me to Chongmun Ryong. Kim Young-hoon's expression turns complicated. After a moment, he stands up from his seat. Follow me. Chapter 273, Pillar 4. Translator, Translating Novice. Editor, Z0rel. Join the Discord for chapter updates and important news. To-do. Kim Young-hoon and I are skimming across the Southern Sea. We're going slowly. Given the speed at which Kim Young-hoon and I could move, we should have reached the Sea Dragon Palace in no time. There must be a reason for us traveling this slowly. Apparently, even Kim Young-hoon isn't feeling good about going to see the state of Chongmun Ryong. As I follow behind Kim Young-hoon, I gradually notice that various parts of the South Sea have changed. Originally, there were small islands everywhere. No islands are in sight. It seems that all the islands had sunk due to a previous battle. I slowly ask Kim Young-hoon a question as I trail behind him. I have something to ask. What is it? I question him about the strange stone said to have emerged from the innards of Chongmun Ryong. Was that mysterious stone safe for Bu Qianghua to keep using? No. Later on, it was found that madness was faintly emanating from the stone, so all the crew of the Bu Qiang fleet had to be replaced with puppets. However, for some reason, Bu Qianghua alone was not eroded by the madness, even though she was merely at the late stage of chi building. How is that possible? I believe in her mental strength, but what exactly had happened? I don't know for sure, but she always carries a Naragi with her. She firmly believes that the Naragi protects her, whether it's true or not. And also, using the method of extracting knowledge from the strange stone that Chongmun Ryong taught her, she extracted some of the stone's knowledge and then sealed all the stones together. The interesting thing is that Naragi. Yes, I'm surprised by the unexpected information. She says that the only material that can seal the mysterious stone in this world is that Naragi. Really, I wonder what material it's made from. I feel something odd about that statement. That Naragi is made from gathering soul jade found in the heaven-treading desert. It's a very common material for making magic artifacts. But that Naragi was the only material that could seal the strange stone? Yet, what's strange is Kim Young-hoon's following remark. After sealing all the stones in the Naragi, she placed it in the main ship's power source of the Bu Qiang fleet, linking the power from the main ship to the rest of the Bu Qiang fleet to strengthen their control. In my view, her talent is no less than that of Chongmun Ryong. I feel like I'm plunging into a maze as I listen to him. She sealed the mysterious stone in the Naragi? Sealing implies that there had to be space inside for it to be possible. But the Naragi was a Dharma treasure I had refined myself. I know it best. There was no such space inside the Naragi. Perhaps due to regression, the properties of the Dharma treasures had overlapped, causing the Naragi to transform. But even when I dismantled the colorless glass sword, there was no sign of material transformation or space creation. What on earth is it? The function of the Naragi was only communication. It had no other functions. What did Bu Qianghua do? I can't get a grip on it. For now, that's all I can think of. Perhaps the knowledge she extracted from the mysterious stone might have been of some help. Thinking this, I continue to follow Kim Young-hoon. Kim Young-hoon was using purely his own martial skills to perform a water-skimming technique across the sea, without using the abilities or accelerations of the surpassing Radiant Saber. Looking up at the sky as I follow him, I ponder. In the third stage of manifestation, lifespan increases by about 300 years. Precisely, it's 343 years. This isn't even chi building. Despite reaching a level comparable to the heavenly being stage, the increase in lifespan is only at the level of chi building, which leaves me somewhat incredulous. I grew curious. Young-hoon Hyungnim, what is it? Is your true body beyond shattering heavens? That's right, but in that case, do you perhaps know how much your lifespan has increased? But after asking about his lifespan, I immediately realized. Kim Young-hoon wouldn't know his own lifespan. How could he know if he hasn't even performed the 7-star ritual? However, I'm startled by Kim Young-hoon's next words. I suppose it must be at least 10,000 years. What? I'm not exactly sure myself, but that's the feeling I get. 10,000 years? No, more importantly. While I am astonished by the immense span of time, it isn't strange considering the 4-axis stage and integration stage where lifespans increase by hundreds of thousands of years. What surprises me more is that Kim Young-hoon knows his lifespan. The Heaven Tribe, Earth Tribe, and Heart Tribe each have their unique temperaments. That's why when the Heart Tribe exerts its power, the Heaven and Earth Tribes can detect it, and when the Earth Tribe exerts power, the Heaven Tribe recognizes it as demonic energy. And such temperaments are even more visible to my eyes now that I have reached the heavenly being stage. Kim Young-hoon has not learned Heaven Tribe methods. It's evident. He can't see celestial energy. How do you know your lifespan? As I ask, he seems to ponder before answering. Something feels different than before, as if I've realized the final destination my soul will reach. Upon reaching this realm, it feels as though my soul is being pulled by a higher force towards death in the direction it aspires to reach. Only then do I understand why Kim Young-hoon could read his lifespan. Is it a method of lifespan reading similar to that of the Earth Tribe? Chi, soul, and fate influence each other. Because they are connected, they impact each other's changes. Thus, the demon race, who cultivate in the plane of Chi, can read the vast flows of spiritual energy between heaven and earth to divine something akin to fate or make educated guesses about their lifespans. Similarly, it seems that once the Heart Tribe reaches a certain level, even without the vision of the Heaven or Earth Tribes, they can read their own lifespans. I've learned something new. How long have we been exchanging curiosities and traveling? We finally arrive at the southern end of the Head Realm, above the seas where the Sea Dragon Palace is located. It's my first time going to the Astronomical Observatory. Although I have been to the Sea Dragon Palace before, I had never entered the space dedicated to observing the heavens. It wasn't only because Seo Huiol had caused so much trouble, but also because I couldn't find it inside the Sea Dragon Palace. Thus, I had been unconcerned, assuming it must be somewhere outside the palace. Thinking about it, I should have visited the Astronomical Observatory. Perhaps I could have learned what terrifying thing John Hyang had discovered. Where is the Astronomical Observatory located? As I ask Kim Young-hoon, he points to the sky. Over there. Yes. Follow me. Pot. Kim Young-hoon steps into the air and soars into the sky. Wasn't it supposed to be under the sea? I follow him into the air while feeling puzzled. I thought the observatory was beyond the world shield force at the southern end of the world. But contrary to expectations, it seems that the observatory is located high above. Well, logically thinking, it makes sense that a place for observing the heavens would be situated high up. After ascending through the air following Kim Young-hoon for a while, something enveloped by a barrier and invisible to the naked eye appears within my consciousness. That is, it's a building almost as massive as the Sea Dragon Palace. This building, constructed on a sky island, is floating in the air like Ascension Path. The sky island is small, and it clearly looks artificially made, and its altitude is a bit lower than Ascension Path. Noticing this, I try to enter the observatory. However, I'm repelled in the opposite direction with a strong repulsive force. Kook, what's this? Be careful. There was already a barrier formation here that even the nether crossing ship had trouble penetrating, but after Chongmon Ryong strengthened the formation from inside, it became even more powerful. How did you originally get through? We blasted through with the main cannons of the nether crossing ship. Feeling annoyed, I draw out the colorless glass sword. Wawoom. The 3 great ultimates appear behind my head. Utilizing the power of the 3 great ultimates, I swing the sword downward. Quong. With a tremendous boom, the barrier collapses entirely. Kagugagu. Just like when you crumpled the dimensional barrier, I'm reminded again that you've become a monster. Kim Young-hoon looks at me with a weary expression. How troublesome it was every time we had to break through one of these. Really? It was considerably weaker than the dimensional barrier though. That's true, but if you fail to break it in one go, an even stronger counterforce emerges, making it a very tricky barrier. And now, you smashed it in one go without even exerting much effort. Kim Young-hoon clicks his tongue as we both move beyond the collapsed barrier. Just as I set foot in the astronomical observatory, Wawoon, I feel a refreshing clarity come over my mind. This is, again, the mind-clearing spell, characteristic of Seo Huiol, was cast over the entire astronomical observatory. Why in the world is this guy using such spells in every building he constructs? It certainly wasn't for mental health benefits. Eventually, he would just brainwash everyone, making me curious about the true purpose of laying such spells. Moreover, the spell cast over the astronomical observatory feels much stronger than the one at the Sea Dragon Palace. I should visit all the places where Seo Huiol had caused trouble at least once. I recall what Seo Huiol had said. He said he had built up his Axis Foundation at the Sea Dragon Palace, serving Command Palace, the Black Castle, and Ascension Path. Maybe building up an Axis Foundation has something to do with the mind. Or maybe it's for some other reason. In any case, I could learn more about his intentions and the method Seo Huiol used to build up his Orthodox Axis Foundation. While I was thinking about this, Young-hoon Hyungnim, I suddenly realized that Kim Young-hoon had stopped speaking and was standing still since entering the Sea Dragon Palace. Is there something wrong? I can tell even without asking. Kim Young-hoon is uneasy about coming to the place where he had personally cut down Chongmun Ryon. No, let's go. He hesitates for a moment, then takes the lead. I clench my teeth and follow him. Chongmun Ryon, what has happened to you? How long have we been moving inside the astronomical observatory? I notice characters engraved everywhere inside the observatory. What is this? The astronomical observatory itself, due to an automatic restoration spell, appears quite intact despite what must have been a fierce confrontation between Kim Young-hoon and Chongmun Ryon. However, oddly, there are parts that haven't been restored and are engraved with characters. Young-hoon Hyungnim, they are words left by Chongmun Ryon. We don't exactly know what they mean. Is that so? I read the characters left by Chongmun Ryon one by one. Mountain. Summit. 33. Words I know individually but unknown when together. Soon, Kim Young-hoon and I enter the center of the astronomical observatory. That is, look. Kim Young-hoon points with his hand at something in the center of the astronomical observatory. That is Chongmun Ryon sealed by me. He ended up mutated like that. Stunned, I look at Chongmun Ryon. Chongmun Ryon has turned into a giant salt pillar and is situated at the center of the astronomical observatory. Below the salt pillar, another word is written. I slowly read the crookedly written words. Audience chamber. Translator notes. This is some eldritch horror. Also, mountain, summit, and 33 are a reference to Triastria. https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/Triastria. It is the second of the 6 heavens of the Desire Realm in Buddhist cosmology and located at the peak of Mt. Sumeru. Chapter 274, I Saw One. Translator, Translating Novice. Editor, Z0rel. Join the Discord for chapter updates and important news. Mountain, Summit, 33, Audience Chamber. For incomprehensible words, I raise my gaze beyond these words to what lay behind them. Thus, I stare indefinitely at the salt pillar in front of me. I look at Chongmun Ryon. Just why? Suddenly, I clench my fists. It has always been like this. Even when I tried to change my colleagues' fates at the beginning of my regressions. Even when I tried to save the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect. No matter what, it was the same. Every attempt I made always reverted back to its original course by fate. While looking at the traces Chongmun Ryon left in this world, I could associate one thing. The massacre at Heaven Treading Desert by Yuan Li turned into an expedition against Chongmun Ryon. The fate that those left in the head realm suffer calamities by an existence at the nascent soul stage was not completely turned upside down. Damn it. I grit my teeth. Kim Young-hoon finds it painful to look at Chongmun Ryon turned into a salt pillar and turns his head. Step. I approach the salt pillar. Don't touch it. If you touch it. Despite Kim Young-hoon's warning, I reach out to Chongmun Ryon regardless. When my hand touches the salt pillar. Crackle. My fingertips gradually turn stark white, and my body begins to saltify. Exclamation point. I'm momentarily startled, but keep my hand there briefly. After a while, crunch. I completely turn into salt and tear off my arm that adheres to the salt pillar. As I detach from the salt pillar, the saltification of my body stops. Chwalak. Concentrating my power, my arm regenerates, and the part that had taken the shape of my arm and stuck to the salt pillar crumbles down to the base of the pillar. Some of the chi-building cultivators who came on a previous expedition tried to consume Chongmun Ryon. Licking the salt pillar, and ended up saltifying and getting absorbed by it. Bu Qianghua also lost a finger investigating the salt pillar and had to regenerate it. Is that so? I'm shocked that anyone would even think to eat it. Using my will, I try to extract salt from Changmun Ryong's body using the heaven and earth spiritual energy. Exclamation point. It's when I touch the salt pillar with my consciousness. You wug. I clutch my head and kneel on the ground. Cuff. Arg. Aya. My brain. Part of my brain, saltified. ZZZZT. I excrete salt crystals through my scalp and regenerate my brain. Just touching it with consciousness turns the brain parts related to the consciousness into salt. It seems even spells won't work. If I use a tool, I figure the tool itself might also turn into salt. The area around the salt pillar continues to slowly accumulate salt. Perhaps even the air touching the salt pillar is gradually turning into salt. I once again extend the heaven and earth spiritual energy, and this time, pull back my arm that had scattered into salt when it touched the pillar. Swoosh. This time, a clump of salt is dragged back. So, things that directly touch the salt pillar turn into salt, and those transformed into salt are safe to touch. However, the transformed salts are just ordinary salt, without any peculiarities. It's when I'm staring intently at the salt pillar. Everything else is fine, but just don't try to move Changmun Ryong. Is there a reason? Yes. Kim Young-hoon nods gravely. Those who tried to move him, without exception, turned into salt pillars just like Changmun Ryong and died instantly. Whether they wrapped their hands in salt or tried to lift him from the ground, it was all the same. Such intention itself might be considered disrespectful. Is that so? As he emphasized the word intention, I realized something. There is a clear standard to turning into salt, and that standard includes the intention Kim Young-hoon mentioned. Perhaps even our perception is included in it. His senses are connected to a very distant somewhere. That means this salt pillar is highly likely to also be connected to such a distant place. I sigh. So we just have to watch. Exactly. Murmuring solemnly, I speak to Kim Young-hoon. But, I know, Changmun Ryong is. Our gazes simultaneously fall on the salt pillar. He's alive. Indeed. Despite having turned into a salt pillar, Changmun Ryong is clearly exuding intent. Only those alive with emotions and thoughts exude intent. In essence, Changmun Ryong is alive. Strangely, Changmun Ryong's intent is not filled with madness or drenched in sorrow, but is very calm and peaceful. It's as if he is comfortably deep in slumber. I feel as if my heart is about to shatter while looking at him. I had wanted so badly for Changmun Ryong to prosper that I tried to change his fate. Is this the result? Changmun Ryong. I look gloomily at the salt pillar and think, are you at peace? There is no answer. Only the intent symbolizing peace flows from the salt pillar. I speak to Kim Young-hoon. I have seen an inorganic object from which intent flows like this. What? Startled by my words, Kim Young-hoon reacts sharply. You mean you've seen something similar to Changmun Ryong? Yes, and I've also seen those who possess the same intent as Changmun Ryong. I recall the first time I met the owner of Heavenly Punishment. The moment when the people of Heavenly Human Island collectively returned to their origin. At that time, the emotions they felt as they were transformed into lightning and sucked away were exactly like what is coming out of this salt pillar now. Furthermore, I remember a being that emitted intent despite being inorganic. Zhengli. Initially, I thought she was just a type of Dharma treasure, but then recalled her existence as she emitted intent and even conversed with me through heart language. The heavenly lightning banner only emitted intent. I couldn't delve into its heart essence. It's the same with Changmun Ryong. It's inanimate but emits intent, and I can't look into its heart essence. The difference with Zhengli is that she responded to me through heart language. Changmun Ryong just stands still as a salt pillar. What is it? Is there possibly a clue that can turn Changmun Ryong back to human? Urged by Kim Young-hoon's desperate words, I shake my head. There is a Dharma treasure used by one of the greatest true immortals. The state of that Dharma treasure is similar to the current state of Changmun Ryong. Perhaps Changmun Ryong is in a state of returning to some high being. Returning? I'm not exactly sure. As far as I know, true immortals govern certain domains, and those within that domain transform and are absorbed by the true immortal. So Changmun Ryong was marked by some true immortal monster as he observed the heavens? I'm not sure. I think of the owner of Heavenly Punishment. That being seemed indifferent while absorbing countless lives as they returned. Probably not. Those beings above in the heavens don't have much interest in humans. It's merely because Changmun Ryong recognized that being that this happened. Is that so? Then is there no way to help him? I don't know that much myself. We just have to trust the methods that exist in the ancient force realm. I sigh softly. Let's go back. We've checked on Changmun Ryong's condition. I would like to rest a bit. I calm my gloomy heart and leave the observatory. Mountain, Summit, 33, Audience Chamber. I have no time to think about those abstract words. I still can't do anything. Once again, in front of the enormous beings known as true immortals, I feel like nothing more than an insignificant bug that can't do anything. Whoosh. Leaving the astronomical observatory, I slowly head towards the continent. I need to grow stronger. One can live within fate, even as a weakling. But to truly change fate, I must rise even higher. For now in the head realm, I'll find out how Seo Huiol managed to build his axis foundation at the 4 places, and then I'll ascend to the bright cold realm and reach the 4-axis stage. I look up at the sky, reaching the heavenly being stage, and under the more concrete celestial energy, I see a fragmented future. A future where I, along with John Myung-hoon, will escape the head realm and ascend. The gravitational pull of fate is leading me to the middle realm. By fate, it seems I will ascend soon. Indeed, I am planning on ascending. All I can do is climb as high as possible. If I had been at the star-shattering stage instead of the heavenly being stage, would I have been incapable of doing anything for Changman Ryong, who had transformed like that? Would I have just left him like that? No. From the star-shattering stage onward, I would have been able to see even more truths and access more principles, at least enough to understand why Changman Ryong had ended up that way. Let's cultivate. To climb higher and higher, until the day comes when I can truly change fate. I parted with Kim Young-hoon for a while and stopped by Yinghua. I need to borrow some astronomical data recorded in the Yinghua Imperial Court. I plan to read all the observation data from various nations while traveling around. The basic spell decrees include the Qi refining 1st and 2nd stars. The 72 earthly Sha true words and the 36 heavenly gang method decrees are spells derived from the 108 types of energies held by the celestial stars. I intend to apply the spell knowledge I learned from Changman Ryong to interpret the astronomical observation data. It might not be as accurate as what was observed from the Sea Dragon Palace, but I'll try to push through with the quantity of data. I don't know what Changman Ryong had observed, but I have the extinguishing divine tribulating heavens technique. I even shook off the owner of heavenly punishment's curse with the extinguishing divine tribulating heavens technique. Even if I receive the curse of saltification, I can withstand it. Moreover, my life is not as precious as others. My own knowledge of spells is not as deep as Changman Ryong's. Changman Ryong of this life, having reached core formation, had gained much more understanding in terms of understanding before breakthrough, and he is at the highest level within the minor realm. As such, it's likely I won't be able to catch up to what Changman Ryong has attained with my level of understanding. But at least I have to try. I enter the astronomy department of the Yinghua Imperial Archives and begin reading the data. There are plenty of barriers in the Imperial City, but they weren't a problem for me, so I just passed through them easily. Let's see. While I am browsing through the celestial data, how dare you? Suddenly hearing a loud voice, I turn to look. There stands an irate-looking old man in a red robe. How dare you sneak into the Imperial Astronomy Department? Thinking about it, I had passed through the Imperial barriers too naturally and forgot to use the record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts or a technique for hiding. Well, this is embarrassing. I'll just read this and leave. Please, allow me a little more time. From the heavenly being stage onward, one's consciousness is half merged with the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, so cultivators of lower realms cannot recognize the consciousness of a heavenly being stage cultivator unless it is deliberately revealed. Moreover, because the spiritual power of a heavenly being stage cultivator resonates with the heaven and earth spiritual energy, the pressure of spiritual energy actually disappears. Therefore, to cultivators from the lower stages, a heavenly being stage cultivator might appear no different from ordinary mortals. So, to him, I must look just like any ordinary intruder in the astronomy department. You, a mere mortal, dare to intrude the great Jin clan's imperial palace and look at a cultivator straight in the eye. I look at the early Qi refining stage cultivator and contemplate what to do next. Thinking there's no need to scare the kid, I say, go play over there. Yeek. At my words, the Jin clan cultivator's face turns red and he forms a hand seal to hurl a fireball at me. Whoosh. Die, intruder. And then, swoosh. I infuse my fingers with Gang Qi and flick the fireball away easily. Try to focus more on the intent of the hand seal when you form it. It's better to seek the meaning behind the seal than to just pull energy from the spiritual root. And no. What how? My spell that was nearing the completion of the Qi refining 1st star. I've mastered all 72 earthly Sha true words, and I'm about to advance to the 2nd star? I shake my head, unable to find the words, and wave my hand dismissively. I'll really just look at this and go, please move aside. I think that revealing the extent of my consciousness and spiritual power might literally give the kid a heart attack. I choose not to show my power and gesture for the cultivator to leave. He trembles and backs away. Guards. All guards, gather. An intruder has appeared in the astronomy department. At that shout, Peak martial artists and above quickly appear around us. There are even masters of the three flowers gather at the summit among them, who threaten me with their swords drawn. Seeing you scare a cultivator like that, you must be quite skilled. But our Imperial Astronomy Department guards. Crack. As I clench my fist, the heaven and earth spiritual energy naturally morphs into the form of a sleep spell and seeps into the martial artists. The peak masters can't even resist. Their eyes roll back as they collapse where they stand. Arg. The one who seems to be the captain, a three flowers gather at the summit master, tries to resist, but what I used is a spell easier than breathing, albeit at a much lower power. You should rest too. It must be tiring always being attached to a wall, ceiling, or under a bed as an imperial martial artist. GUH. I won't just succumb. Huang. The guy, who seems to have quite the spirit, infuses his sword with sword gang and swings it at me. But, clang. What? His sword, along with the sword gang, snaps and flies off. Even a chi-building cultivator has pure spiritual force flowing within, naturally forming a protective body force. What about someone at the heavenly being stage? I don't even need to deploy a defensive technique. I naturally have a stronger protective body force than a group of core formation cultivators forming a defensive formation. I reach out to the trembling martial artist and say, "You have great spirit, so I'll reward you." Gog. He fails to withstand the sleep spell longer and faints. I implant the formula for reaching 5 energies converging to the origin and the exact training methods, along with martial arts that can help him achieve that stage, into his mind. After handling that, I'm about to continue reading the celestial data when this bastard, this wretched fellow, I have brought an elder from the Jin clan. The old man who had run away earlier came back, this time with a young woman in tow. She looks quite young. Is she a promising late-stage disciple from the Jin clan? Without me asking, the old man begins to introduce the woman. This person is Jin Wei-yun, a distinguished chi refining stage cultivator from the great Jin clan, and an imperial inspector from the main family. Oh, is that so? Trembling won't help you now. You seem well-versed in martial arts, but this person is a master at the chi refining 6-star. She is a dignitary currently in discussions for conducting the 7 stars ritual. Oh, the old man puffs out his chest like a fox with a tiger at its back, and says, "Let me show you what a chi refining 6-star cultivator is capable of. I'm really curious. What kind of fearsome entity is she?" Jin Wei-yun also forms a hand seal and shouts, "Behold the power of the chi refining 6-star. Chapter 275, I saw it too. Join the Discord for chapter updates and important news. Ever since the heavenly martial divine demon, Kim Young-hoon created the Divine Demon Secrets, a method to confuse the consciousness of cultivators by martial artists beyond the pinnacle stage spread throughout the martial world. Initially, this secret martial art slowly spread among the high-ranking elders of major martial factions. However, after the news spread in the cultivator world that heavenly martial divine demon Kim Young-hoon had fought on equal footing with Chongmun Ryong, a core member of the Pure Friends Alliance, and even mortals caught wind of it. The divine demon secrets, reputedly created by him, spread throughout the martial world. There was also a theory that initially, Kim Young-hoon had spread the secret technique far and wide by assigning masters in various places. Thereafter, cultivators at the chi refining stage, who govern mortals, could no longer underestimate martial artists. A slight mistake could lead to nobles or royals being decapitated by a highly skilled martial artist. The higher stage cultivators were less concerned. Even if the martial artists got a bit stronger, those capable of executing broad-scale destructive spells had little to worry about. However, it was different for cultivators below the mid-chi refining stage. They were crucial in ruling over the mortals. Now aware that the mortals they had treated as livestock could retaliate, they could no longer afford to be arrogant. Therefore, Jin Wei-yun, a cultivator at the 6th star of chi refining, also tensed up as she faced the man before her. He's definitely a master of 3 flowers gather at the summit, and he must have mastered the heavenly martial divine demon's divine demon secrets as well. A typical chi refining 6-star cultivator would have been helpless, but she is confident. She has brought a high-level magic artifact that could be used by someone at or above the 12th star of chi refining. Although it consumes quite a bit more spiritual power, she has enough spirit stones to replenish her spiritual energy, so she believes she has a good chance of winning. I will win. She lifts a red fly whisk embossed with a lion's head and activates her spell. Depart. 10 suns. Waruru. 10 fireballs burst forth from the artifact, engulfing the man. Jang Hyuk, an external member of the Jin clan, forms a hand seal and assists Jin Wei-yun. This is my chance. If I make a good impression on the lady, I don't know about the main Jin family, but my position in the imperial palace could rise. I could secure the position of the department head by impressing her. Boom. A battle ensues within the depths of the astronomy department. The two cultivators fight fiercely against the sinister martial artist who had infiltrated the department. Finally, Jang Hyuk and Jin Wei-yun managed to defeat the martial artist. We won. Haha, my bottleneck was cleared during the battle, creating a perfect foundation for advancing to the 7th star of Qi refining. Jin Wei-yun is thrilled with the fortuitous breakthrough that occurred during the battle. Well done, Jang Hyuk. I will speak to the elders at the Qi building stage about you. Not just the head of the astronomy department. With your loyalty and ability, you could possibly even obtain the position of Minister of Ceremonial Rites. Jang Hyuk is overjoyed by her words. Thank you, miss. It all feels like a dream. 7th star Qi refining right before my eyes. The elder has acknowledged me. I watch as the children blissfully snore away in front of me. Seeing such youngsters after a long time, they're quite adorable. Even the weakest disciples of the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect are at the 11th star of Qi refining. Those were the ones who had been dragged from the bright cold realm immediately upon entering the sect. Originally, among the disciples from the head realm, none had failed to reach the Qi building stage. To me, someone who hasn't surpassed the Qi refining 7th star is a first since John Myung-hoon. It's quite refreshing. Qi refining 6th star, I take a deep breath and remove the sleep-inducing spell that fills the astronomy department. Sweet dreams, you cute little things. I lean over and scratch the belly of the old man lying sprawled out, who chuckles as if he is having a pleasant dream. Wawoom. My spiritual energy naturally envelopes him, melting away the impurities within his body. It's likely that he won't suffer from minor illnesses for the rest of his life after this. As I glance at the 6th star Qi refining cultivator, the perfect foundation for advancing to the 7th star Qi refining stage is inadvertently established within her. Grow well and strong. Thinking that sticking around might attract more annoying folks, I pack all the astronomical data into my storage scroll and split space to step outside the royal palace. I should just go to a nearby guest house and read. It seems like a more comfortable option for uninterrupted reading. The food from the lower realm I tasted after a long time was quite delicious. Thinking about it, I barely remember eating since reaching the core formation stage. After attaining the nascent soul stage, I hadn't even drunk water. My vitality is fundamentally different from mortals, so I can sustain myself without food. Waiter, bring me another bowl of noodles. Yes, my lord. After quickly finishing a bowl of noodles, I begin reading the astronomical data. Let's see. First, the astronomical traces from the last 500 years. I'll read the flows of the sun, moon, and stars. I begin to apply spells to the traces I read through. If I integrate the flow of the 72 earthly Sha true words and the 36 heavenly gang method decrees into astronomy, and continue moving up to the 12 earthly branches and the 10 heavenly stems diagram, I float a small stream of spiritual energy in the air and begin to manifest basic spells according to the flow of celestial phenomena. Soon after, I can see the clusters of spiritual energy before me taking on a shape. It's taking on a form? I didn't expect to see results so quickly, so I look closely at the form. One of the martial artists at another table suddenly sent chopsticks flying at another, challenging him to a duel to the death, turning the guest house into a battlefield. I focus on the form without much concern for the surrounding chaos. It's a small, cone-like shape. A reversed triangle? An inverted cone? What is this? But as I try to observe more details of the cone, it disperses into nothingness. Is it some kind of symbol? But an inverted triangle seems too simple to be a symbol. No, it's scattered as soon as I try to observe it more closely, so I might need to examine it more later. One of the dueling martial artists announces himself as a master of 3 flowers gather at the summit, and his opponent reveals themselves to be the same. Shall I recreate it? Intent becomes disturbed, and the fighting martial artist's weapons fill with gang chi, striking me several times. I scratch the hit area, and then move the spells before me to recreate the shape. As I attempt to observe the shape again, it just disperses and vanishes. It seems difficult to observe with my current consciousness. Perhaps it will be easier if my consciousness grows a bit more. And I need more data observing the flow of celestial phenomena and astronomical observations from the head realm. It might be inaccurate since it's only generated with data from Yinghua. Finally, the chaotic dueling and bleeding martial artists fly in opposite directions, forming a blood brother pact before leaving the guest house. Finishing my thoughts, I decide to eat another bowl of noodles before scattering the clusters of spiritual energy in front of me. Data for Shengzi should be most accurate from the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect, and I need to visit Biokra and the Northern Plains as well. It's also worth visiting the East. It shouldn't take long. Waiter, are the noodles ready? Then, I find the waiter trembling under a nearby table. The whole guest house looks as if a storm had passed through. Thank you for saving me, Sir Guest. Those monsters saw that you didn't react at all despite getting hit a few times. realized you were a great master, and got scared. They pretended to make peace and left. Did something hit me? The noodles are on the house. Thank you. After getting the noodles for free in the guest house, I restored the ruined place with a wood attribute spell as a gesture of gratitude, and then left. I was so focused that I didn't even notice such an event happening right in front of me. It's strange. The cone, though faint, seems to possess a bizarre charm capable of enchanting people. I feel even more compelled to investigate it. What exactly had Chong Munrong seen? A minimum clue is necessary. Is this the head realm? John Myung-hoon, sitting with Jean Hae-min in the Golden Thunder Hall, lets out a sigh. Excuse me? Did you say something, Grand Elder? Never mind. Have the next one come in. Yes. Next up is an envoy from the Gongmyo clan of Biokra. Biokra? It's the country beyond Yanghua, located next to the Xingzi. So, literally the next door neighbor. Who is the envoy? Jean Hae-min reads from the list. The Gongmyo clan. Oh, I know this person. It's Gongmyo He, the son of Gongmyo Cheon-sik, one of the three greats of Qi building. He has excellent qualities and has diligently studied under Gongmyo Cheon-sik to become a Grand Elder at the core formation stage. Three greats of Qi building? A Grand Elder at the core formation stage? But, the name Gongmyo He sounds feminine. The three greats of Qi building. It's tiresome to explain. Please read this material later. The reason why he's a Grand Elder at the core formation stage is because all the cultivators from the head realm who were at or above the nascent soul stage ascended during the last great ascension. I see. And the reason Gongmyo He's name sounds feminine is John Myung-hoon has a headache. This newly settled place called the head realm. The original disciples from the head realm, though regretting leaving the bright cold realm, like it, but for those originally from the bright cold realm, this place is virtually a remote backcountry. The spiritual energy that had been so naturally abundant in the bright cold realm is extremely sparse in the head realm. Resources are scarce there, and the world is smaller. Moreover, for them, it was as if they had fallen and separated from the bright cold realm where their families are located to the head realm, not for some grand cause like ascension, but for other reasons. And John Myung-hoon feels similarly. Though he was originally from those who ascended, he had only ever set foot in the lands of the bright cold realm, not even a square meter of the head realm. Everything is too unfamiliar. But among all, there is something that drives him almost mad. What are they doing now? John Myung-hoon watches Gongmyo He introduce himself before him with his vast domain of consciousness at the heavenly being stage, while down below at Thundercloud Peak, where the Golden Thunder Hall is located. There, the Qi refining cultivators are trading. This time, this is nailed dust I obtained from the Grand Elders after much hardship. It's from the last time they were clipped, taken to the apothecary to be finely ground. This is from Grand Elder John, and this is from Grand Elder Seo. From the bodies of heavenly being stage Grand Cultivators. First, the Grand Elder John solely focused on the lightning path method, so the power related to that method lingers in this dust. And Grand Elder Seo, having mastered countless techniques beyond the lightning path method, his dust particularly can be used in all respects. It's in good condition and has decent spiritual energy. 40 spirit stones for the medicinal materials. No, what are you saying? You're pricing the physical remains of heavenly being cultivators for just that. Listening to this is dizzying. John Myung-hoon is about to issue an order when he recognizes the face of the disciple trading their nail dustets, one who had lost his dual cultivation partner in the last lightning calamity. This is crazy. Should I scold them for stealing and selling nails, or should I pretend not to know? And it isn't just this. When he finished his administrative duties and toured Xingzi, his consciousness picked up countless cultivator black markets. And recently in Xingzi, elixirs made from parts of heavenly being stage cultivators were popular. Naturally, these elixirs were made from John Myung-hoon and Seo Eun-hyun's nails, hair, saliva, etc. He wondered whether to rip their heads off for making him feel disgusted, but seeing the disciples slowly recovering from the nightmare of the lightning calamity with broad smiles as they sold the elixirs made him think he perhaps should just let them be. Did they say heavenly being stage cultivators are akin to gods to the people of the head realm? In that context, they are trading divine bodies. Spiritual energy is scarce in the head realm, so maybe that's justifiable. But no matter how much he ponders, it feels wrong. However, seeing their smiling faces caught in his consciousness makes it hard to reprimand them. Well, if that's the case, I should at least tell them to stop trading my parts externally. John Myung-hoon makes up his mind. I'll only allow Seo Eun-hyun's parts to be distributed externally. Furthermore, our Gongmyo clan has made significant advancements in pill refining through research conducted with the Zhou clan relics obtained in collaboration with the Book. Before he knew it, Gongmyo He's introduction of his clan is coming to an end. We also dispatched experts when constructing the Book Yang fleet, and have obtained the technology related to the Buk-Hyang fleet. In short, our clan is capable of manufacturing Buk-Hyang fleet that traverses dimensions, if you wish. Buk-Hyang fleet. Was the creator named Buk-Hyanghua? It has a funny name, just like General Seo. Excellent. Technology that traverses dimensions is essential if aiming for ascension, so I'll definitely keep that in mind. John Myung-Hoon nods and sends Gong Myo-hee off. The name might be funny, but from what Jean Heyman explained, they can recreate the divine object of the Black Ghost Valley to be able to create something at the level of a divine artifact of the human race's 6 great sects. I need to remember them. Whenever I had time, I would stop by the Jean clan's territory and sweep through it with my consciousness. Most of my disciples had aged and died, but their descendants were alive. After confirming this, I intended to fly over to Biokra. That was when it happened. Master. Hong Fan. Hearing a spiritual message from inside the storage scroll, I reach inside to pull out the jade orb in which Hong Fan was sealed. After the calamity had passed, Hong Fan said he would try to escape on his own, so I left him be. It seems he had finished interpreting the seal. Is it all done? Yes, I am ready to come out. All right. I lift the jade orb. Shortly after, cracks form on the surface of the orb, and dark poison begins to seep out. Since the seal was carefully set by the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect, it will take some time to exit. I apologize, but could you wait a bit longer? Of course. I settle nearby, setting up a protective formation and placing down the orb containing Hong Fan. The poison is getting stronger. Even while sealed, Hong Fan seems to have continued his research on poisons, as his art of poison has become even denser inside. You've become much stronger. Yes, while trying to dissolve the seal using only poison, I've recently glimpsed a new realm of poison arts. A new realm in poison arts is, I ask startled, formless poison. Yes, having once been a practitioner of poison arts myself, I am aware of this realm. After entering the cultivation world, I had even looked it up once out of curiosity. A dream poison that exists above all others, capable of poisoning anyone below the integration stage regardless of their cultivation realm. But in the world of poison arts, it had been so legendary that it was treated merely as a fantasy, yet Hong Fan had gained insight into it. It's not complete yet, and it will take quite some time. Well, that's fine. I can wait. According to some theories, formless poison is said to have a certain relationship with the netherworld. Whether that's true or not, I sit there happy for Hong Fan's achievement. SSSSS. Is the formation melting from Hong Fan's poison? I sit watching the formation while keeping an eye on Hong Fan. About half a day passes when it happens. Quang. Suddenly, a powerful magic artifact strikes the formation from outside. It seems to be not so much an attack, but for some other purpose. Cultivators? But how did these guys find this formation? There must be some trick to it. A large number of them had gathered. Please come out from within that formation. Puzzled by the booming spiritual message, I look outside. The head of the Jean clan is looking for you. Please come out and cooperate. I look at them and laugh heartily. Sorry kids, I have some things to do here, so that might be difficult. My calm response makes the situation awkward for the cultivator who had spoken. It appears you are a senior from the core formation stage. But, no matter what, the place you are sitting on belongs to the Jean clan. If you do not cooperate, no matter how much of a senior you are at the core formation stage, we may have to use force. Force. It may sound presumptuous, but even if you are a senior at the core formation stage, it would be difficult for you to disregard this mini chi building stage elders. Please accept our invitation. They bow politely. I smile faintly, looking out at the chi building cultivators who are surrounding me. About 500 chi building cultivators have gathered. Translator notes. 72 earthly Sha true words and the 36 heavenly gang method decrees are a reference to the Ursa Major in Taoism with the 72 earthly stars and 36 heavenly stars. Chapter 276, I saw it, 3. Join the Discord for chapter updates and important news. 500 chi building cultivators. I don't really go on high alert, just clear my throat nonchalantly. Well then, this will only take a moment, so just wait a bit. I flick my hand while inside the formation. Kagugugu. Then, as a typhoon rages outside the formation, all the chi building cultivators are seen unable to maintain their stance. They somehow found out where the formation is located, but they seem unable to see exactly inside as they scream out. The core formation senior is angered. What, this power? Could it be he has reached the late core formation stage? It's formidable enough to rival even the great perfection of core formation. Kagugugu. After the storm passes, the chi building cultivators sweat profusely as they move a few li away from me. The leader among them, a great perfection chi building cultivator, yells out, "Everyone, calm down and form ranks." At his command, they move orderly to arrange a spell formation. Wawoom. Their spiritual power and spiritual energy connect. Chick, 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 chick. The chi-building cultivators position themselves and form hand seals. As 499 positions are taken, their energy begins to amplify, and I start to feel my own energy be suppressed. To this extent, I express pure admiration for the formation skills of the Jin clan while observing closely. The leading cultivator shouts, "With this flaming forest great formation, even a late core formation senior cannot escape unscathed. Even a venerable nascent soul old monster might be trapped at least once, so please choose wisely." While quietly listening to these guys talk, I start to feel a bit annoyed. Not showing my power just makes them pester more. A kid at the chi refining 6-star, or whatever might be cute, but being swarmed by 500 is just annoying. I don't feel the need to exert myself on these fools. After a brief moment of thought, I extend my hand outward from the formation. The grand perfection chi-building cultivator of the Jin clan, Jin Wei-du, feels an ominous premonition. What's this feeling? It feels like he had touched something he shouldn't have. But it was the order of the clan head, and now it's too late to back out. Damn, why did the clan head ask us to bring such a formidable senior? And while he doesn't know exactly what kind of formidable senior the old monster before them is, he showed no signs of fluster when facing a force of 500 chi-building cultivators in front of him. Are we confident enough to handle this? But having laid out the flaming forest great formation, retreating now would tarnish the honor of the Jin clan. That's when it happens. Swoosh. A hand appears from outside the formation. What? Jin Wei-du sweats as he raises his magic artifact. A flaming aura surges over a red staff. I'm feeling something ominous. I need to prepare. Just as he thinks that, Wawoom. Above the hand, something that looks like a white orb appears. A lump of pure spiritual force. No, that seems like, it feels similar to the gang chi used by martial artists. The next moment, flash. In an instant, a burst of white light erupts, and a white orb suddenly moves in front of him. Jin Wei-du recoils in shock, stepping back. But in the next moment, the area around the white orb seems to ripple with heaven and earth spiritual energy, and a fire attribute spell bursts forth from the white orb. What? Horror! Jin Wei-du uses the spell he had been preparing in a panic, but for some reason, the flame spell emitted from the white orb devours Jin Wei-du's own fire spell, which he had been specializing in. Kugugugugu. Arc. Jin Wei-du exerts all his strength in blocking the white orb in front of him. It's not just a simple lump of pure spiritual force. Chief, activate the formation. Join forces with the chief. Waruruk. As the flaming forest great formation activates, Jin Wei-du feels an immense pressure from the formation concentrating on the white orb before him. At the same time, the spiritual power of 500 cultivators interconnect and amplify. Werurum. Quam. Fire attribute spells from 500 cultivators are unleashed simultaneously towards the small orb. Quam. An explosion resonates, shaking the nearby mountains and rivers. However, in the next moment, the eyes of Jin Wei-du and the many other chi-building elders widen in astonishment. Beyond the clearing smoke, around the white orb, the power of the 5 elements rotates, blocking the fire spells. That's 5 surpassing paths to cultivation. A cultivator recognizing the flow of the spell murmurs quietly. However, Jin Wei-du realizes that this is not the end. It's not just a simple 5 surpassing paths to cultivation. It's a 5 surpassing paths to cultivation that has been pushed to the limits of understanding. It's impossible to elevate the 5 surpassing paths to cultivation to that extent unless you're at the level of Senior Changman. But how could this be possible? And that's not all. Within the power of the 5 elements, there are countless other flows of techniques rotating besides the 5 surpassing paths to cultivation. Gulp. Various thoughts pass through Jin Wei-du's mind. And the identity of that orb is. He swallows and says, that Senior's externalized spirit technique. Yes, what? Focus your consciousness. They all extend their consciousness without exception and observe the white orb. Then, in the realm of consciousness, there, the orb begins to appear a bit differently. Through the naked eye, it's just an orb, but through consciousness, it takes the form of a man dressed in white. And for some reason, the man's face is not even clearly visible. The heaven and earth spiritual energy itself seems to be obstructing the recognition of the face. Wawoom. In the realm of consciousness, the white orb. The other form of the orb, the man in a white robe, forms a hand seal. Jin Wei-du shouts, that's that Senior's externalized spirit technique. As you know, the externalized spirit technique will self-destruct if the internal energy is exhausted, so everyone launch a full assault to deplete its energy. As soon as he finishes speaking, countless attacks pour down on the white orb under Jin Wei-du's command. Kagugugu. It looks as if a sea of scarlet-red flames are forming. The bombardment of spells continues for a while. The eyes of Jin Wei-du and the cultivators bulge. Gradually, their spells are being repelled. The 5-element spells spinning around the orb, used by the externalized spirit, appears to drive back the fire spells. How can this be? Jin Wei-du is terrified but clenches his teeth. Even so, such powerful techniques cannot be maintained for long. We just need to endure a little more. That is what he thinks. However, it's a mistaken belief. Whoom. A moment passes. Jin Wei-du feels as if he's been bewitched by a ghost. Why is this happening? It's strange. The externalized spirit, whose spiritual power should have waned and vanished, is still vigorously pressing on them. No, it seems to have become even stronger than before. How can this be happening? He screams internally, grinding his teeth. From within the formation, I observe the gang sphere incarnation. Having reached the heavenly being stage, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth is on my side. Therefore, even if it is an incarnation, as long as it contains my consciousness and wishes for it, the supply of heaven and earth spiritual energy is freely available. Whoom. It seems the chi-building cultivators haven't noticed. But through my eyes, I can see the flow of the nearby heaven and earth spiritual energy streaming into my gang sphere incarnation. Despite being an incarnation, the gang sphere endlessly absorbs the spiritual energy, becoming even stronger than at the beginning. The outcome will probably be determined if things continue this way for a little longer. It's regrettable. However, it seems it is time to stop using the gang sphere clone to torment these poor kids. Master, you've worked hard. I will handle it from here. Hong Fan finally emerges from within the seal. It's fine. I shake my head and say, let's stop tormenting these poor fellows. And I need to find out how they managed to locate us. I'll go meet their clan head. Swoosh. I reach out my hand towards the chi-building cultivators who are still burning with fighting spirit. Extending my hand outside the formation, I instantly create 8 more gang sphere clones and float them into the air. And it takes less than half a moment for them to lose all their will to fight. Is this the so-called Buk Hyang fleet? John Myung-hoon looks quite interested as he examines the gift brought by the envoy of the Gongmyo clan. The envoy of the clan Gongmyo, he shakes his head. To be precise, it would be correct to call it an early replica of the Nether Crossing ship created by Lady Buk. Lady Buk tried to replicate the Nether Crossing ship while repairing one. Of course, being an early version, it isn't highly completed. However, she would later create the Buk Hyang fleet based on this ship. We received the technology and were able to acquire one of these early Nether Crossing ships replicas from Lady Buk. Now, we will transfer this valuable object to the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect. John Myung-hoon inhales slightly as he gazes at the massive warship floating in front of the Golden Thunder Hall. He speaks beautifully, but isn't that just a prototype? After already receiving the technology and acquiring the technique to produce improved Buk Hyang fleet ships, it seems like it's just for show. Although John Myung-hoon is somewhat displeased, he finds the spatial fluctuations emanating from the ship somewhat interesting. A powerful ghostly energy flows within. Yes, initially it was no different than a deteriorated replica of the Nether Crossing ship. John Myung-hoon is aware of the Black Ghost Valley, the Head Realm's 3 great sects, the human race's 6 great sects, once a great sect that commanded the entirety of the great seas of the Head Realm, a replica of an immortal treasure regarded as a divine object within that great sect. A ship virtually embodying the identity of the Black Ghost Valley. The Nether Crossing ship. The energy emanating from the ship. Is it barely at the core formation level? But with the right power source, it seems it could quickly rise to the level of heavenly being. That strange unease he had felt when facing General Seo from Seo Eunhyun is now emanating from this ship. Of course, it's not as ominous as General Seo, but it feels like the despair he had experienced facing General Seo diluted to 1,000th. Rather than ominous, it's more accurate to say there's a slight tension. But even that is enough for John Myung-hoon to know how well-crafted the vessel before him is. Particularly, what he mainly notices is the functional aspect of this replica Nether Crossing ship. With such spatial fluctuations, long-distance spatial travel would certainly be feasible. Yes, of course. It's natural. Indeed. Through this Nether Crossing ship, he dreams of once again ascending the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect as a whole. While the current level of the Nether Crossing ship makes it challenging, in 1,000 years, the development of the Buk Hyang fleet will be endless, and the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect will also have studied the acquired replica of the Nether Crossing ship. 1,000 years would be enough. With this, the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect can be firmly placed above again. In 1,000 years, when the Ascension Gate opens again, John Myung-hoon vows to ascend to the bright cold realm using this replica Nether Crossing ship. That's when it happens. Woom. Pot. A dull golden glow flies past John Myung-hoon. It's a disciple at the core formation stage. Grand Elder. It's news of Grand Elder Seo. He is currently in Yanghua. The disciple who brings news of Seo Eun-hyun hurriedly approaches John Myung-hoon and urgently whispers to him. Soon after hearing his words, John Myung-hoon's eyes widen, shifting away from the nether-crossing ship. What, Seo Eun-hyun? Ho! I went to the Jin clan headquarters with the Chi building cultivators led by Jin Wei-do, who had come looking for me. And there, I found out why the core formation head of the Jin clan had called me, and how they found me. It turns out they weren't chasing after the location of me, a heavenly being cultivator. It seems there was some misunderstanding, senior. Sweating cold sweat, I look at the clan head who stepped down from the head seat and is now kneeling before me. I then turn my gaze towards the creature behind him. It's a centipede the size of a human. Hong Fan, who is next to me, makes eye contact with the antennae of the centipede. My demon beast suddenly started convulsing while reciting the exact location I sought senior for that reason. My pet demon beast is nearing the end of its lifespan, and I read in an ancient text that eating the inner core of its kind can extend its life. He had found Hong Fan through his pet demon beast, and I am aware of this pet demon beast's identity. Did you say you got it from Ascension Path? Yes, precisely from the center of the heaven-treading desert. It was lying beneath Ascension Path when I picked it up. Indeed, the centipede demon beast at the lower chi refining stage is, in fact, Hong Fan's sibling. Chapter 277, I Saw 4. Join the Discord for chapter updates and important news. I look at Hong Fan and ask, Hong Fan, do you feel something? Yes, I definitely feel a faint sense of kinship through our blood relation. And I've just realized it now, but now that I know the sensation of my own kind, I think I will be able to recognize the presence of nearby kin. Oh, is that so? It seems likely that this was why the Jin clan had managed to find us at their cultivation. Anyway, this is fascinating. Though it was said that it's dying from aging, the creature in front of me is clearly a demon beast, harboring demonic power at the level of the low chi refining stage. I never thought it would truly awaken to a demon beast due to the spiritual energy of immortal demon bamboo and Ascension Path. I look at the head of the Jin clan and ask, so, you sought me out because you thought feeding my demon beast, Hong Fan's demon core, would extend the lifespan of your demon beast? Hehuk, the Jin clan head, sweating pathetically, frantically shakes his head. No. How could I covet the core of a senior whose cultivation is higher than mine? It was presumptuous of me to think of you as a fellow cultivator on the same level, and not as a heavenly being, and to attempt a transaction. Is that so? I become curious and ask him, that pet demon beast of yours, it doesn't seem like you're trying to save it just because you're fond of it. May I ask why you want to save it? From his intent, it appears that the head of the Jin clan didn't want to save Hong Fan's sibling out of special affection, but rather for some utilitarian purpose. At my question, he swallows hard and says, although it might look trivial in the eyes of a heavenly being, bring it here. The head urgently shouts to one of the Grand Elders kneeling beside him. At his command, the Grand Elder quickly runs and fetches a small jar from somewhere. As he opens the sealed jar, a subtle wave of spiritual power emanates from it. Both I and Hong Fan, who are watching nearby, show great interest as we look at the jar. Spiritual fluid. The dense spiritual energy within the fluid swirls inside the jar. The concentration of this spiritual energy is not low at all. It's enough that even a mixed spiritual root at the first star of chi refining can rapidly advance to the third star through breakthrough before understanding. And if applied to a heavenly spiritual root, it would mean advancing from chi refining first star to chi refining sixth star through breakthrough before understanding due to its dense spiritual energy. This is a type of poison produced by my pet demon beast. As you know, depending on the concentration, poison can also be used as medicine, and such a spiritual liquid containing poison is equivalent to a top-tier medicinal ingredient. It doesn't seem like just any centipede poison. Using my knowledge of poisons, I analyze the spiritual liquid to the best of my ability. This fragrance, this quality, and that color seems more like a plant-based poison, crafted from a blend of many different medicinal herbs rather than just centipede poison. However, Hong Fan, looking at the poison fluid, says, it's astonishing, master. The raw materials for this poison fluid are ordinary grass and sap that contain no spiritual energy. That's when I realize why the head of the Jin clan wants to extend the life of a mere low-level chi refining centipede. Oh, that's quite incredible. Caught off guard by Hong Fan's immediate discernment of the poison fluid's true nature, the head of the Jin clan glances fearfully at Hong Fan's shadow and trembles. It's not my doing but the talent of the centipede demon beast. Rather, it's incredible that you identified it so quickly, senior. He praises the centipede demon beast implied to be Hong Fan's sibling, and simultaneously bows deeply to Hong Fan with great respect. There's no need to be so overly courteous. As I am about to wave him off, the head of the Jin clan says in a fluster, no, As my heart feels at ease doing so, please allow me. Well, if you insist. At that moment, Hong Fan suddenly shows a furious expression and intent, and shouts loudly, "You insolent one!" Until now, he had been quiet even upon meeting his sibling. But suddenly, he is furiously lashing out at the head of the Jin clan. Both the head and the grand elders, and even I, are taken aback as we stare at him. Hong Fan seems truly enraged, emitting poison energy as he yells, "This ill-mannered fool! How dare you recklessly raise your head in front of the master?" I apologize. I thought it was permitted. Where did you get the nerve to talk back? You should have asked for permission at least 3 times. I look at the enraged Hong Fan and say, taken aback, "It's all right, Hong Fan. I was the one who allowed it, was I not? It doesn't bother me." At my words, Hong Fan closes his mouth and nods, stepping back. I feel an extremely strange sensation. His intent suddenly returned to how it was just a moment ago, to a shocking degree. He returned to the typically dry demeanor of Hong Fan. Just because they were slightly less respectful to me, he suddenly became this angry. I calm my confused thoughts and advise him, "Thank you, but there's no need to get so angry over something I've allowed in the future. Yes, I will bear that in mind. However, maintaining Master's dignity is important to me, and I might not be able to help myself. Please understand this." Seeing Hong Fan express such intense emotions for the first time in a while makes me feel a little curious. "By the way, Hong Fan, that little guy over there is said to be your sibling. That one is a girl." "Oh, sorry. I couldn't tell anyway. Since she's your sister, what would you like to do?" At my question, Hong Fan looks up at me with a puzzled expression. "Should I dispose of her?" No. Startled by his words, I ask again, "You're meeting your sibling for the first time? Don't you feel any emotion or something? If you want, I can take that child in too." Are you suggesting this because of the spirit liquid? I have fully understood the composition of that poison. If you wish, I can inform you right now. Without waiting for my reply, Hong Fan transmits the formula for the poison fluid into my consciousness. To think he figured out the formula and ingredients of the poison just by observing it for a short time. He really is remarkable. I muse internally. Thank you. However, what I was talking about wasn't a matter of necessity, but of propriety. Isn't she essentially your family, whom you're meeting for the first time? At my words, Hong Fan shakes his head. "No, master. Since reaching the nascent soul stage, I have seen and remembered everything from the moment I met you. She is not someone I'm seeing for the first time, but one of the ones I saw once after emerging from the egg. I remember which egg she came out of and where she went. My memories since the nascent soul stage are intact due to the canvas of myriad forms and connections storing them all. For a typical nascent soul cultivator, the rapid life flashback that comes with the stage does not usually result in gaining complete memories. There are cases of discovering the secrets of one's birth, but even those are hard to detail due to the swiftness of the flashback. Yet, Hong Fan had managed to remember everything just by a brief glimpse during the fleeting review. What kind of brain does he have? I asked, baffled. You don't have any feelings towards your family? That is correct, Master. Honestly, I do not even understand why I should be connected with such beings as family. Well, if it's about lineage, I have nothing to say, but I prefer not to associate with them. Is it because he is so superior that he doesn't recognize his own kin as his kind? This is a common attitude among exceptional geniuses, and it's similar to how cultivators in the head realm look down on mortals. Though they are both humans, cultivators do not see the other as the same. To them, mortals are fools who can't even control their own intent, spilling it around like thread. I think about what to say, then let it be. Well, if that's your attitude, let's leave it at that. More importantly, looking at the pet centipede demon beast, I ask Hong Fan, do you have any desire to extend this demon beast's lifespan? Not really. If you command it, Master, I will look into ways to extend its life. So, you're not interested in doing it yourself? Yes. I nod. That settles it then. Jin Clan head. Yes, Senior. It seems that we must find another way to prolong your pet demon beast's lifespan, since I cannot give you my followers' demon core. That is perfectly reasonable. After giving a few words of advice to the respectful Jin Clan head and the Grand Elders, Hong Fan and I left the Jin Clan's residence. While flying through the sky over Yingwa with Hong Fan, I confessed to him, Hong Fan, in fact, I am the enemy of your parent. This is a truth I had intended to reveal since coming to the head realm. If this provokes Hong Fan into a rage, even if he attempts to kill me, prepared to accept it. It's a truth I had to confess someday, and even if it leads to my death, I have done everything possible for the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder sect, so I am ready to accept a death that severs all ties. However, Hong Fan's reaction is different from what I had expected. Is that so? The same being who had suddenly raged about a minor error to my dignity shows no emotion over the death of his familia, profoundly indifferent reaction. Struck by his eerily calm response, I recount the story of how I killed Hong Fan's mother. I confess without omission that his mother, a chi-building demon beast, was harming a human village, and I had killed her to save them. After hearing my story, Hong Fan tilts his head. Perhaps, do you have any commands for me? Do you wish to prosper that human village you mentioned? No, Hong Fan. I am saying, I killed your parents. Yes. Master, I'm inevitably a bit perplexed by his unusual thought process, which seems to differ even from that of other cultivators. Even among cultivators, it's not normal to disregard one's parents, even if they are mortals. Cultivators with mortal parents usually use their abilities as cultivators to provide for their parents as best as they can, and if their parents were murdered, a normal reaction would be like any other person, turning frantic with grief. I apologize to you. I killed your parents. Despite feeling uneasy about Hong Fan's attitude, I sincerely apologize. This time, I sense that Hong Fan is significantly disturbed. Master, why do you apologize to me? Please do not apologize. I have no feelings towards my parents whatsoever. My existence gains meaning only when I am with you, Master. From a very young age, I have understood my fate. Do you know what it is? What is it? It is to assist Master in moving forward from your side. That is the fate I have realized. Is that so? I look at Hong Fan and feel an indescribably odd feeling. Why exactly is Hong Fan's fate to assist me? I can't figure it out at all. For a moment, we fly in silence. Then, Hong Fan suddenly speaks. By the way, Master, would you like to see the formless poison I have realized? So suddenly? It's rare for Hong Fan to suddenly suggest something to me, so I look at him curiously. Yes, what do you want to show me? Please, take a look. Hong Fan extends his hand forward and says, this is the ultimate essence of the poison I have realized. John Myung-hoon swiftly cuts through the air, gritting his teeth. Wawoom. As he forms a hand seal, a voice transmission spell forms in front of John Myung-hoon. John Myung-hoon shouts into the spell. Director Kim Young-hoon, please come to the capital of Yingwa quickly. Seo Eun-hyun has. After mentioning Seo Eun-hyun, he activates the spell. Quarum. John Myung-hoon's voice transmission spell flies off at the speed of lightning. A short while later, John Myung-hoon arrives above the imperial city of Yingwa, looking down. There, he sees something that has appeared. Flash. And in an instant, golden radiance flashes, and Kim Young-hoon is suddenly beside him. John Myung-hoon, is it true? Seo Eun-hyun has. Yes, it seems. John Myung-hoon and Kim Young-hoon look seriously on one side of the imperial city. They are looking at an inn, or rather, what had been an inn. There, a giant pillar of salt has erupted and is stretching up to the sky. In the center of the salt pillar, an old man dressed in black, with long eyebrows, is frantically doing something. Hong Fan. John Myung-hoon exclaims upon seeing the old man. Kim Young-hoon and John Myung-hoon land beside Hong Fan and watch what he is doing. From Hong Fan's hand, Seo Eun-hyun's head protrudes out of the salt pillar. Within the salt pillar, Seo Eun-hyun's body can faintly be seen. However, his body is gradually melting into the salt pillar, becoming one with it, and Hong Fan is holding Seo Eun-hyun's head and blowing something transparent into it. What's going on here? Hong Fan replies with a perplexed expression. I don't know either. I just broke through the seal and came out to find Master like this. I am trying to awaken him now by stimulating his mind with my formless poison. Just what? John Myung-hoon looks at Seo Eun-hyun with a startled expression, then approaches a waiter who is lying nearby, trembling with fear. Can you not speak the truth? Why has this happened to Seo Eun-hyun? However, the waiter is too terrified to speak coherently. I don't know. This person just ordered another bowl of noodles, and suddenly a white pillar burst out from his body. Tell the truth. Is that really all there is to it? It's true. Kim Young-hoon grasps John Myung-hoon's shoulder to calm him down. That's enough. His words are true. There's no fluctuation in his emotions. What in the world? That's when it happens. Hong Fan's eyes widen as he shouts. I've made contact with Master's main consciousness. Please be quiet. I will awaken Master. Wawoom. Just how much of the transparent energy swirling in Hong Fan's grasp entered Seo Eun-hyun's mind? Seo Eun-hyun opens his eyes. Seo Eun-hyun, who seems unable to comprehend reality for a moment, gradually shows clarity in his eyes as he begins to understand the situation. Then, his pupils tremble violently as he suddenly screams with insanity. As the formless poison spews from Hong Fan's hand, I feel the scene before my eyes shatter into pieces. At the same time, I found myself back at the point right after ordering noodles at the inn. Kim Young-hoon and John Myung-hoon are staring at me. Hong Fan is looking at me with cold sweat, and a pillar of salt is growing from my body. Memories begin coming back to me. I ordered noodles. With my hand, I shaped an inverted triangle. From it, something I saw. I saw what the owner of Salt Mountain left behind. Chapter 278, Back to the Middle Realm. Join the Discord for chapter updates and important news. Salt is sacred. It has always symbolized purification and is also one of the essential elements of life. The character for salt is formed by combining the characters for to see and saline/brine, symbolizing seeing edible salt being made by boiling in a cauldron. While there are many words for salt in the 3,000 greats worlds, ultimately, all are fated to converge to the same meaning above. To see. Inevitably, the notion of to see is embedded in salt. To see is the essence of cultivation and, simultaneously, a contemplation of oneself. Ultimately, one can say that salt is the concept of clairvoyant enlightenment that had been pushed down from the plane of fate to the plane of chi, where it materialized. Cultivation is essentially clairvoyant enlightenment. Like tiny grains of salt gathering to form the sea. Build mountains through clairvoyant enlightenment. Building a mountain of salt is perhaps the fastest way to reach the heavens. Mount Tai splitting emperor techniques, central verse. Agga. I scream, my eyes rolling back in my head. Some verse is being forcibly engraved into my mind. And every time I try to understand this verse, I realize my brain is gradually melting into salt and trickling away. I'm going to die. I can't die in such an absurd way. Gritting my teeth, I recite the verses of the extinguishing divine, tribulating heavens technique. At the same time, I combine the 5 elements blood curse banner and the Een Soul ghost incantation to create the black ghost curse banner, imbuing it with the verses of the extinguishing divine, tribulating heavens technique. Kagugugu. Inside my mind. There, flags covered in black curses appear. Simultaneously, dark storm clouds mingle with the flags, transforming them into flags made of black clouds. Crack. I drive the black ghost curse banner, imbued with the power of extinguishing divine, tribulating heavens, into my upper dantian, sealing away the whispering secrets in my head. At the same time, I find freedom. Cough. Cough cough. Kagugugu. The giant salt pillar covering me crumbles. Had I lost my mind and completely merged with the salt pillar, I would have become a salt pillar that saltifies everything it touches, like Chongmun Ryan. Fortunately, I managed to recover before reaching a critical state. Chwarak, Chwarurak. Heek, Hugh. I regenerate my body, sweating coldly. Co Unhyun. What happened? Are you alright? Master, what happened? It's John Myung-hoon, Kim Young-hoon, and Hong Fan, respectively. I stand up, trembling all over. Heek ha. I seal away the memory of seeing something. But I feel it. I understand the words of Yang Soo-jin. The words of Zhengli are painfully clear to me now. John Myung-hoon. Yes. We need to leave. What are you talking about? Clench. With bloodshot eyes, I grip John Myung-hoon's shoulder as if clawing at it, and say, we need to get out of this world. That's obvious. So we were going to start constructing the Buk-hyang fleet and wait until the Ascension Gate opens. Right now. What? I insist with my hands trembling. You don't know what I saw? No. Sorry, I didn't see it clearly either. But one thing is certain. We shouldn't be in this world. This place is too ominous and terrifying. We need to ascend immediately. We don't need the Ascension Gate. I'm confident I can tear through the dimensional barrier. Let's go somewhere, anywhere. Right now, John Myung-hoon. I remember the time when Yang Soo-jin had forcibly ascended me to the bright cold realm through the Ascension Gate. Yang Soo-jin had said then that this world is far too threatening for an ender like us. When coming to this world, it is only right to come only as an avatar. If one walks around with their main body, it's certain that something will go wrong eventually. Since I have sealed the memory, I can't know what I had seen. But one thing is certain. Malice. This head realm is filled with malice towards us. Immediately. We need to leave immediately. I look at Kim Young-hoon. Suddenly, a tremendous sense of relief floods over me. The fact that Kim Young-hoon had reached beyond shattering heavens and ascended to the ancient force realm by himself along with Buk-hyang-hwa, Song-jin, and Seo Ran is such a big relief for me. John Myung-hoon shakes his head, not understanding. What are you saying? If we ascend now, what about the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect? The Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect can survive as the foremost sect of the head realm. You've been handling the political affairs, so you must have a rough idea of the level of the head realm, right? Even if none of the core formation disciples step forward, the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect can dominate the realm with just the chi-building disciples and their formations and techniques. Even if a nascent soul cultivator appears in the head realm, our current core formation disciples can handle them. Moreover, Jin Heymin is almost at the nascent soul stage. We don't need to worry about the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect, John Myung-hoon. He looks bewildered, but I plead with a desperate look. Please believe me, John Myung-hoon. I'm not lying this time as well. At the very least, we should not be here with our main bodies. If you're worried, create and leave behind an avatar. No, I can create General CO for you to use. Just leave a part of your consciousness with it. John Myung-hoon trembles slightly at the words, this time as well, then grits his teeth. Damn, you always present difficult choices. And there were calamities we could have avoided if you had accepted my suggestions. I will ask you one question. John Myung-hoon grimaces slightly and asks, if we're the only ones to ascend, wouldn't the disciples we leave behind suffer from the calamities you mentioned? They won't, I state firmly, although I practically know nothing about what I saw. One thing is clear. What I saw is dangerous only for us, and beings of the true immortal level or higher. Beings below that stage, unless in special cases, wouldn't even be able to perceive it. If we advise the disciples to ban detailed interpretation of astronomical observations and celestial phenomena before we ascend, there really won't be any problems. Trust me. After a long moment of silence, John Myung-hoon sighs and nods. All right. He smiles bitterly and says, this time, I should listen to you. He is now aware of beings like the owner of heavenly punishment, those who one should not even dare speak of. He understands why I can't explain in detail, and this time, he decides to trust me. But it's impossible right now. Half a day, I'll arrange everything as quickly as possible and come. Quarum. John Myung-hoon turns into a streak of lightning and flies towards the direction of the golden divine heavenly thunder sect. I gasp for air and stagger. Are you all right? Hong Fan supports me by my side. I groan and clutch my throbbing head. Woo-woong, woo-woong, woo-woong. Inside my head, the knowledge I had sealed away writhes as if alive. How long do I draw upon the extinguishing divine, tribulating heavens technique to suppress that knowledge? Finally, the knowledge within the seal quiets down. And then, boom, I feel a sound akin to the heartbeat of a giant beast. Through that sound, I recall one thing. Oh, I see. This knowledge is related to the Mount Tai splitting emperor technique. I need to meet Han-won first. As the throbbing in my head subsides, I look at Kim Young-hoon and say, Young-hoon Hyung-nim, I'm sorry, but... Yes, well, I understand. It's all right. I'm satisfied with just having a good match once. Thank you for understanding. We briefly nod to each other and exchange greetings. I use a voice transmission spell to call John Myung-hoon to Ascension Path, then hurry over there with Hong Fan. Kagugugu. In the center of Ascension Path, a completely sealed Ascension Gate. Above where the Ascension Gate had been, the steel of Yang Sujin and countless spatial rifts are present. Quickly. We need to get out of here quickly. I chew my nails anxiously, like a person plagued with impatience. During this, my gaze is suddenly drawn to one spot. That spot. That day, over 1,500 years ago, Hong Fan first clung to me on that spot. Suddenly, I recall the dream I had. Was it a dream since I saw the inverted triangle? No, perhaps it was a dream from when I first started creating it. Yet, recalling that overly detailed thing, I feel suspicious. Hong Fan. Yes, master. I instruct Hong Fan, sharing the poison formula I had received from him in the dream. This spiritual poison, do you think you can make it? Oh, it's a poison concocted just from ordinary herbs and sap, without containing spiritual energy. I'll try making it right now. Hong Fan swiftly disappears from my sight, and soon sets up an apothecary in the forest of Ascension Path, rapidly mixing the ingredients. Chiroreric. He transforms his upper body back to its original form and moves countless centipede legs at an immense speed to mix the poison. His appearance looks somewhat bizarre. And after a while, it's done, master. It's quite an interesting poison formula. Hong Fan presents the exact same poison I had seen in my dream before me. What? Was it not just a simple dream? How can knowledge from a dream be applicable in reality? I suddenly feel a chill and ask Hong Fan. Hong Fan, I am going to give you another command. Please give me your orders. Can you go to the Jin clan of Yinghua within half a day and investigate this matter? Yes, I understand. I hand Hong Fan a note containing several pieces of information, and he quickly leaves Ascension Path heading west, holding the note. To calm my mind, I sit down and meditate. Shortly after, whoosh, Hong Fan returns. Yes, master. I have found out. The current head of the Jin clan is raising a centipede demon beast, and this centipede demon beast can produce the same spiritual liquid as the one you asked to create. Is that so? I am struck by a strange feeling. The information from the dream is correct, and, upon further investigation, it turns out that the centipede demon beast is indeed from my lineage. It's one of my siblings. I see. I hold my head. The information from the dream matches reality. I remember what had happened in the dream. Although the coherence was strange, I had thought it was because it was a dream and the events proceeded according to the flow of consciousness. But regardless of the situation's coherence, the facts from the dream match reality. Just what in the world is happening? Confused, I recall the conversation I had spoken with Hong Fan in the dream. A completely different appearance from the mother centipede, who had maternal love for her offspring and affection for her bloodkin. What happened in the dream was not merely a fantasy. The dream was based on reality. Though I didn't ask Hong Fan explicitly, his attitude and thinking towards his family is likely the same as in the dream. The actual truth had come to me within the dream. I felt as if I was floating in the dream. There was also a sense that my thoughts were not clear. However, the truths learned in the dream are true. It's not just a simple dream. However, why I dreamed a dream that felt like reality and the truth. The intention of the entity that bestowed that dream upon me. I simply cannot figure it out. A while later, while I am waiting near where the Ascension Gate and Hong Fan had been, Quarum, with a burst of lightning, John Myung-hoon appears. As he opens a storage scroll, a massive warship emerges from it. That is, though nowhere near the level of the real nether-crossing ship, it's a warship endowed with extraordinary space attributes. Regardless of what happened, it's good to have received it. And by the way, I'm leaving my split soul at the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect Shrine, just in case there is a need to communicate with the disciples of the Head Realm. You should do the same. I shake my head. If you've left yours, there's no need for mine. Well, truthfully, mine isn't needed either because I'm startled by the figure that appears behind John Myung-hoon. Wait, are you taking that guy? The person who appears behind John Myung-hoon is Yun Jin. Not his ancestor Yun Wei, but Yun Jin, who is at the core formation stage. Then, suddenly, Yun Jin's eyes flip, and Yun Wei's voice flows out. I have decided to stay in the lower realm. I will seal my true soul with John Myung-hoon's split soul at the shrine, so it remains with the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect. Yun Wei, are you sure about this? Yes. And isn't Yun Jin being sent? I have embedded my split soul inside Yun Jin's soul. Through Yun Jin, you can communicate with me while I stay in the lower realm. Really, are you sure? Knowing her strong desire for life, I ask again. But Yun Wei chuckles and replies, once we reach the middle realm, Han One, that guy, will try to capture me one way or another. If caught by that scoundrel in this state, how I'd rather not imagine it. It's better to stay here while he has enmity towards me. Don't worry. Understood. I nod. After asking Yun Wei for a few favors regarding investigating the Sea Dragon Palace, serving Command Palace, Black Castle, and Ascension Path, I turn around. Phew. It almost feels like I have just descended into the Head Realm, yet I am immediately going back up. But I know, this place is too dangerous, so we must leave immediately. Fortunately, John Myung-hoon trusts me this time, and I can go up with him. Though it means leaving the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect behind, we avoided the disaster of total destruction by heavenly punishment. Then, let's depart. John Myung-hoon boards the replicated Nether Crossing ship with Yun Jin and Hong Fan. I raise my hand toward the spot where the Ascension Gate had opened, bearing the shape of the three great ultimates on my back. Then, I strike down with my hand. Kwalong. Back to the Middle Realm.